Great American Landowner. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 296. Joining the Board of Directors. After receiving the news, Zhou called Harvey in the United States and asked for some advice. According to Harvey's proposal, Zhou currently intends to hold Apple's shares for a long time and is optimistic about its rising trend. Since he is not going to sell it now, it is definitely a good thing to join the board of directors. Moreover, Apple's current board of directors is small and mysterious, with only about 7 people coming and going, and they are all executives and CEOs of large companies. Even the former president has served in it. Since Jobs returned to Apple in 1996, he has been the company's sole mentor. Unlike ordinary companies, the company's board of directors will not supervise the decisions of the chairman and CEO, but only provide him with advice, so that he can let go and do whatever he wants. At this stage, it is also the case. The rise of Apple and the success of Jobs have made the company's internal creed believe in Jobs. Most of the other people in the company actually live in his shadow, but his success also proves that this model makes sense. Zhou is still young now. If he can have a resume as a member of the board of directors of such a large company, then his future will be much easier. Whether it is contacting other companies or making any investments, it will be much smoother. Moreover, this position can be regarded as a real entry into the upper class of the United States. When he contacts and gets to know those congressmen, he can be regarded as having a decent status. Although the Americans value money, they also respect those who have demonstrated the value of life and their careers. Such people may not be rich, but they will definitely be respected. In any case, this is definitely much faster than making his own business bigger and famous step by step. And this can also help him to weave a network of relationships faster in the strange country of the United States. Although it is estimated that he will just be there for show in the future, he will still listen to the boss Jobs on major matters. But this is what he hopes for. Apple rose to prominence because of him, and Zhou did not want to intervene in these matters. And Mark, since Apple has taken up the position, it is also okay to go to Facebook. In the afternoon, Zhou immediately said goodbye to his godmother and Li Shuang, saying that he was going back to the United States, and there were some important things to deal with there. "You are leaving so soon, haven't you only been back for 2 days? Godmother said reluctantly. "I originally decided to stay in China for a while, and my family didn't go back this time. But the things in the United States are very important this time. I may join the board of directors of Apple recently. My consultants all hope that I will take the position, saying it is a good opportunity," Zhou said. Apple's board of directors? Are you kidding? Li Shuang was a little surprised when he heard it, and his words were a little stuck. "What do you think? Do you still want to ask me if it is a company that sells fruits? Although I run a farm, I also invest in some stocks," Zhou said with contempt. When the godmother heard what Zhou said, she was also shocked. She was also an experienced person. As the daughter of the Li family, although she fled to China because of the political events that happened during her grandfather's time, she eloped because of Li Shuang's father. She didn't return to the Li family for many years until her father found her and went back with her children. Although her father failed to seize power in the huge Korean family of the Li family, she still controlled a part of the property when she returned. Although it was not comparable to that huge group, it was the most noble part. It can be seen that Zhou's godmother Li Zhuan is not simple. In the end, she got the shares of the TV station and arranged Li Shuang to be a director in the station. In this way, he has the backing of the Li family group, such as the First Sugar Group. Although it is not the largest in the station, no one dares to ignore him. "Jess, how many stocks did you buy? They actually invited you to the board of directors?" Zhou touched his nose. "Well, quite a lot. I mortgaged all my real estate and invested in stocks. If I buy Apple, it should be about 1% of Apple's shares now." The godmother was completely shocked. She certainly knew Apple. As an old company, it has become stronger year by year in recent years. and their leader Steve Jobs is definitely a very powerful person. And Apple stock has been rising in recent years. She calmed down and suddenly found that she couldn't see through her godson now. She didn't know whether to say that he was right or wrong to mortgage his real estate to buy Apple's stock, although this is not a good investment method in the investment world and there is no reasonable allocation of risks. But now Apple's stock price has risen a lot compared to the previous period. Although there has been no recent rise, Zhou has made a lot of money. She felt a little dry in the mouth for no reason. Well, your people are right. This is definitely a good thing for you, but I think they will never agree to let you join the board of directors so easily. You have to think it through when the time comes. Zhou nodded. Well, I know. Thank you, godmother. In the afternoon, the crew of very playful beauty, Korean movie star, Seo has finished filming this scene and is sitting next to him to rest. The assistant is also standing there and handing him some food from time to time. The agent is also next door to help him look at the script. This is the scene that has just been added, so he has to take a good look. And Seo, who is sitting, sighs from time to time. It is indeed different when he is the boss. Even the sky looks a lot bluer. Although there are many more problems from time to time than before, the joy in his heart is beyond words. He was browsing the news when he suddenly said "Hun" and looked up at Zhang Ziyi, who was filming in the distance with a strange look in his eyes. She is indeed an international movie star. Her boyfriend is about to be snatched away by someone, but she can still be in such a good state and work ethic. The assistant has also seen it. He is an old follower of Seo. After he returned from military service, the assistant came to follow him again, so it's okay to gossip about it now. Brother, it's still early on the set, don't make trouble. Seo turned to the assistant and said, don't worry, I got it. But this guy's luck is really bad. He was photographed twice. It seems that he is not a good person. The assistant shook his head and said to Seo, look at this guy, he is really rich. He has such a watch on his hand. He is not afraid of being kidnapped. Seo didn't say anything about him at this time. Anyway, he is just like this. He said that only his group of people can speak Korean in the studio. He just warned him. I believe he will not say anything excessive here. Cut, it's over. Everyone has worked hard. Now let's have dinner, the director said with the microphone. After he finished speaking, he saw Zhang Ziyi also hurriedly walked a few steps. Ziyi acted well. The effect is very good. You can also take a look, the director said very politely. Not only is Zhang Ziyi the biggest star in the crew, she is also one of the producers of this film, so the director is rarely polite to her. Zhang Ziyi walked over to see the effect, nodded with satisfaction, and then prepared to go to dinner. But when she turned around, she saw a few people looking at her strangely, but when they saw her looking at them, they immediately looked away. This was not that kind of look. After all, there were women who didn't look like that. She had acted in so many dramas, but her face remained unchanged at this time, as if she didn't notice the gazes of the crowd, and continued to walk towards her nanny car. When she walked over, she saw her assistant Linley, and she whispered to her, "What's wrong with these people? Why are they looking weird today?" "You'll know after reading the news," Linley said, and opened her notebook. At this time, several large websites had reprinted this news. The headlines that were ferried out, this one ranked first. Zhang Ziyi was cheated again, and her rich boyfriend turned to the sexy queen of South Korea, Lee Hyori. This was a headline. The next ones were the mistress took over. Lee Hyori forcibly snatched Zhang Ziyi's rich boyfriend. Zhang Ziyi lacked charm, so her boyfriend abandoned her. And a series of other headlines. She then read the report inside, and then there was a graphic explanation. There were also comments on the oldlang.com. Netizen and Tatakampo said, "All these stars are really like this. The truth is here, but it's a typical hype. Don't pay attention to it or comment on it. Just let it sink to the bottom. Second floor, go upstairs and die. Third floor, same as above. Fourth floor, same. Fifth floor, everyone line up." After Zhang Ziyi finished reading it, she didn't know if she was angry or something. Her mood suddenly became a little strange. After taking a deep breath, She felt much better. Sisterly, please help me call my brother to deal with it. This matter will be hyped together with the movie, but we must set the general direction, and don't go astray. Don't reply to those media now. Let's brew it for a few days, and then we will issue a statement. Lindley just thought about it for a while, but she didn't make a fuss. There are too many such things in the entertainment industry. There are true and false as well as many surprises. Everyone knows it tacitly. The media only cares about sales, and the stars want to get coverage. This can be used to promote the movie together, and it can also save a lot of publicity costs. Okay, I know. Zhang Ziyi didn't look at the computer at this time. Anyway, the content inside is similar. If you look at it too much, it will affect your mood. It's better to turn a blind eye to it. Then she took out her mobile phone, flipped through it casually, and saw a name Zhou. Sure enough, I knew that this guy was not a good thing at the beginning. Chapter 297. It's really him. Ah, angry. Zhou sneezed. Who is thinking about me again? Hey, when you are handsome, your life is different. Although being handsome can't make a living, that's because you haven't reached that level. I'm not like you. I'm really unbeatable with my handsomeness. Girls' generation dormitory in Seoul, South Korea at this time. Only Tiffany, Sunny, Suayang and Kwon stayed in the dormitory. The others went to attend today's announcement. Today, these people took turns to rest, but they still had announcements to attend in the evening. To be a star in Korea, apart from other things, having a good body is the most important thing. Otherwise, those piles of announcements will tire you to death. Tiffany was looking at their official websites at this time, and she was also hanging out in her own forum wearing a vest. She discussed the appearance rankings of the team with a few fans, but it was a pity that no matter what she said, she still didn't get the first place. After a moment of frustration, she pouted and didn't talk about it anymore. After closing the official website, she opened the latest news and gossip website to see if there was any new news. Big event Lee Hyori was attacked by NT abroad. Seeing this title, she quickly clicked on the webpage. This was compiled by the Korean media, based on the information provided by the fans at the scene. Tiffany took a general look, but when she saw someone filmed NT hitting her with a glass ball, Tiffany shuddered instantly. They had received 3 Black C's in more than a year, but at least there was no physical attack. Seeing a senior singer encounter such a thing, it was inevitable to feel a little sad. Fortunately, someone came out to save Lee Hyori in the end, and she felt relieved. However, seeing the blood on this person's forehead flow down his face, into his sunglasses, and then flowed to his chin, and finally dripped onto his body in the ground. How painful it must be. This man is really so safe. Tiffany couldn't help but say, oh, what did our Tiffany say about men being so safe? Suayang, who happened to be walking next to her, heard her words and couldn't help but lean over and joked with her. Her 2 little hands also pervertedly grabbed the 2 mountains. Ah. Seeing the hand stretched out, Tiffany screamed instinctively, but this scream did not stop Aziaing at all. She hurried forward until she reached the destination, and then pinched twice quickly and rhythmically, and immediately ran away. While running, she shouted to Sunny and Kwon who were playing video games with her, help, Tiffany was thinking about men just now, and now I want to kill her to silence her. When the 2 heard it, 2 rays of light flashed in their eyes, and they looked at each other in tacit understanding. Then they rushed to Tiffany who was really chasing Ziaing. Ah, let me go, I want to pinch that pervert Ziaing too. Unfortunately, the more she struggled, the tighter they hugged each other. No, cute Tiffany, now you have to tell us honestly, are you thinking about men? Sunny said to her with a smile, but her hands were still holding her tightly with Kwon. No, I didn't. Ziaing said nonsense. I just walked up to her and heard her. She was still saying, this man makes me feel so safe. And when I walked over, she even pulled down the webpage. Suayang also said quickly, if it was too late, these 2 would betray me and follow Tiffany to catch me. They would definitely tickle me then. No, I just saw a news report that Lee Hyori seemed to have been attacked by NT. A passenger who got off the plane in front of her rescued her. In order to prevent her from getting hurt, the man did not move his head away, because if he moved his head, he would hit Lee Hiyori, so I said this man makes me feel so safe. Tiffany said to her sisters. She now had an idea. As long as they could surrender, they would probably be able to defeat Suayang. When the time comes, I'm going to give her a good backquote touch too. Sure enough, this news made them let go of her decisively. Let's go and see if Lee Hiyori is okay. The news said no, because the man walking in front of him blocked the view. Tiffany said. Then she walked to the computer, opened the webpage that had been shrunk just now, and clicked the pinned news to show them. See, I didn't lie to you. The two of them also looked at the pictures one by one, and then saw the scene where the man blocked the view for Lee Hiyori. These pictures were really shocking. If it weren't for this man, Lee Hiyori would definitely be injured, and that direction was the face. If she was unlucky, she would be stabbed in the eye, which was really unlucky. The two of them looked through a few more pictures, and Suayang, who was in the distance, had run behind them without knowing when, and was also looking with them at this time. She suddenly seemed to see something, and then said to Sunny, who was controlling the mouse, Annie, turn to the previous page. Yes, the page before this picture. What for? Sunny asked casually, and clicked the mouse to turn back. Zhou Haing looked at the screen again and again. Although some parts of the picture were a little blurry, the overall effect still looked good. Of course, there were many bad places, but that was not the key. Zhou Haing was only looking at the hand in the photo. Annie, look here, it's the hand. Zhou Haing pointed to the hand in the picture and said, I knew it just now. There was an enlarged picture. A luxury watch, millions of dollars. When will we be able to make so much money? Sunny sighed. It's not this one. Look at the other hand. Zhou Haing said anxiously. What's wrong? Look, these grass ring shaped bracelets, don't they look like the ones you wear on your hands? Zhou Haing said in surprise. Ah. Sunny and Guanyuri both exclaimed, and then picked up their own, and compared them with the enlarged picture that had been taken out. The hand above was wearing 3 of these bracelets. The style is almost the same as this, and the two of them still remember that the op used to wear several bracelets on his hand, and when it was given to the two of them, it seemed that he only had 3 bracelets on his hand. It seems to be almost the same. Sunny asked Guanyuri next to her a little uncertainly. I think it's almost the same. Wow, a bracelet that can be worn with a watch worth millions is really so valuable. Suayang said with emotion. The two girls in front looked at each other, and then looked at the figure of the man in the picture. He really looks a bit like him. It's Jessop. An affirmative voice blurted out. Update quickly, pure text chapter 298. Misunderstood. Wronged. The plane that Zhao Jixi was on landed at San Francisco International Airport. After arriving here, Zhao Jixi only needed to wear a shirt. This is the good thing about California. You can wear long or short shirts all year round. The climate change here is not too obvious. He saw Harvey when he walked out of the airport. He had obviously come a long time ago. He was saying goodbye to a beautiful woman over there. He obviously heard the news of the plane landing and said goodbye to the girl. How can a beautiful woman be more important than the boss who provides green money? Hey, my dear boss, you are still so handsome and rich. Harvey hurried over and hugged Zhao Jixi. Zhao Jixi said to him in his ear, did you get the phone number? Of course, as a newly rising gold medal lawyer in San Francisco, how can I not handle such a thing? Harvey said after tidying up his wrinkled suit. Then he took out a small gift box and said, welcome back to this city, boss. After a few words, the two got in the car. Harvey's driver drove very steadily, and it was obvious that he was a veteran. He came here several times and still had a deep impression of this man who was probably 1/3 or more of Indian descent. He remembered that this man had caused trouble for Harvey last time and ended up in court, but obviously the other party didn't expect that he had such a powerful lawyer boss, and in the end, he won the lawsuit with Harvey's defense. Thank you. He took it. Oh, what's in it? Zhao Jixi just wanted to open it out of curiosity, but he looked at Harvey carefully again. You didn't put anything in it to play a prank on me, did you? I don't like that kind of thing. If you want to give me a surprise, my fist will tell you what a surprise is. You know? Harvey laughed dryly and quickly took the box, then took out an identical box from his bag and gave it to Zhao Jixi. Of course, boss, as you wish. This is definitely a box with nothing in it. Zhao Jixia laughed. Harvey, you open it. Harvey. The car arrived at the Four Seasons Hotel in San Francisco. Jay Chou wanted to be a frequent visitor here. He also liked the style of this hotel, although he had some impure relationship with Nikki Hilton. But you can't sleep with someone's daughter and live in their family's hotel. Although this doesn't seem to matter, since he lives in the Four Seasons, he doesn't want to change. Speaking of the Four Seasons Hotel, it seems that Bill Gates is still one of the shareholders, and there are also princes from oil countries. Jay Chou didn't care too much about this. Anyway, he didn't live in their house, so who cares about him? He is already a VP member, so he doesn't need to go to the counter when he comes. The lobby manager will help you get things done directly. Then the butler, provided by the hotel, will help you deliver it to the room. As for the luggage and other things, someone will take care of it for you, and all you have to do is to take yourself to the ambassador suite. After Harvey followed in, they sat down. Zhao Jixi asked him, "What would you like to drink, Harvey?" He tied the tie around his neck. "Thank you, a glass of juice will do." He had already walked to the small refrigerator, reached out to take out the juice, and took a bottle of beer. He threw it to Harvey. "Tell me, what should I do this time?" Harvey was a little helpless. "Boss, this is definitely a good opportunity, as long as you join the Apple board of directors." "Okay, Harvey, I know all this, but you also know my personality." Zhao Jixi stopped him from continuing. "But boss, I don't think they will give you much power, but at least they will let you hold a position in the board of directors and several subordinate committees. If you join the board of directors, you will be a non-executive director, that is, an independent director," Harvey said to Zhao Jixi. Zhao Jixi was a little confused and secretly cursed in his heart. "You are so talkative. If it doesn't work, just think about it." "Well, can you be more specific and simple?" He took a sip of beer and listened patiently. "Boss, Apple's board of directors has 3 committees, the audit and finance committee, the nomination and corporate governance committee, and the compensation committee. They are all composed of executive directors, that is, people who are shareholders of the company, but still work in the company, and non-executive directors, that is, shareholders like you who have stocks, but do not work in the company. It is composed of shareholders from both sides, so the internal and external monitoring is much stronger. But it doesn't work with jobs. Originally, these were used to restrain jobs. However, in recent years, he has become more and more successful, and he has become more and more domineering and dictatorial. Now, most of the voices in the company are actually his, and you don't have much say, even if you go in." Zhao Jixi couldn't help but be speechless. It was similar to what he thought, but forget it. He didn't have the intention to do anything anyway. Besides, being a younger brother to Jobs is not a disadvantage, and this is not considered the role of a younger brother. Speaking of which, this guy's actually working for you. The better he does, the more profit we get. Besides, he will be a legendary figure in the future, affecting the lives of hundreds of millions of people, making people almost regard mobile phones as part of their bodies. If they suddenly lose their mobile phones, they will almost be panicked and anxious. "Okay, I know," Zhao Jixi said. Harvey suddenly took out an invitation. "Boss, this is an invitation to a charity auction tomorrow night. Jobs sent someone to deliver it 2 days ago." "Okay, I know," Zhao Jixi responded. "This Jobs wants to meet me first. I wonder what he will talk to me about then. Haha. Let's wait and see." Then Jay Chou started chatting with Harvey again, but it was mostly Harvey who was reporting, while he was listening. When Jay Chou heard that the manager he hired had made money, he remembered that he had such a person under him. Because the amount he was given to manage was not much, and he also asked Zhou and the accounting firm to supervise, he didn't bother him. The last time they contacted each other was when that person wanted to authorize him, but Jay Chou certainly couldn't give it, and told him to take care of his own business first. He could give him a portion of Apple stock to manage, but don't even think about the rest, because that was Jay Chou's savings. If there was any problem with his space in the future, with that money, he could live whatever life he wanted, and do whatever he wanted in the second half of his life. Wait, what was that manager's name? Jay Chou suddenly couldn't remember what this person's name was. It seemed that he didn't remember it carefully at the time. He seemed to remember that his name was Akasha. Akasha. That's right. His name was Akasha Evanson. He still doesn't know that it's this person who has been making trouble recently, which made jobs start to pay attention to him. In fact, he was alert to him. He felt that if Jay Chou's subsequent plan was revealed, it would not benefit anyone. He was too greedy in the stock market this time. Jay Chou certainly didn't know what Jobs was thinking at this time. If he knew, he would definitely not feel wronged. He didn't do these things, although all the money went into his pocket. But this doesn't mean it's him. Really? I didn't expect that a person I recruited casually at the beginning would help me make a lot of money now. It seems that my luck is not bad. Jay Chou said happily. Boss, this is not your good luck. You are now the largest owner of circulating shares in the world. Akash is taking advantage of this, and others don't know that he can only use a part of the shares each time. So although he has made a lot of money recently, his greed in the market is too ugly. Harvey explained. Oh, who cares? It's good to make money anyway. Jackie Zhou didn't really understand, so he just said it lightly. Harvey didn't say anything more after hearing his boss say that. US dollars are always tempting, so who cares how he eats? The two chatted for a while, and then Harvey said goodbye. After all, JC Zhou had been on a plane for more than 10 hours. According to his idea, it would be enough to chat for a few words. What he needed now was enough rest to get ready for the meeting with Jobs tomorrow. After JC Zhou sent Harvey away, he ran to the rest area in the space. After such a long flight, although he was in the first class, he was still a little tired. He first soaked in the river of vitality. The river water floated his body and flowed slowly. He also circled around like this, and time passed unknowingly. After punching again in the space, JC Zhao's whole body made a crackling sound, and then he left the space. Thinking that he had to go to the event tomorrow, it would be too boring to talk alone, so he decided to find someone to go with him. Thinking about the women in the United States, it seems that he has found more cool girls. Then there is that Jane, but I haven't contacted her for a while. Come to think of it, forget it. Maybe she has found a new love. If you don't want to take responsibility, you should not look for her. It is not a good idea to disturb other people's happiness casually. Although he is a little dull at ordinary times, he is not too selfish to disturb others casually. For this kind of emotion, he thinks it is better to forget each other sometimes. Reality is not a novel. If someone doesn't want to get something from you, then she won't follow you to death. Beautiful women have never lacked sweeters. If there is no light in the east, there will be light in the west. Why bother to hang yourself on a tree like you? The dream of a harem can often only stay in the past. Of course, some people can live such a life now, but they are only a minority. Update fast pure text. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 299. Never expected. Zhou Jixi, who was thinking about building a harem, could only smile. The dream was great, but the reality was cruel. No woman would like to be with a man with a lot of women. Unless you are willing to spend money to buy a lot of women, it is only a matter of time before they leave you. Not to mention that such women will never be celebrities. After excluding Jane as a candidate, Zhou Jixi thought about who else to find. There are still many women in his pocket who gave him phone numbers. He just needs to make a call and believe that those girls will be willing to spend a wonderful night with him. But it is so simple and there is no challenge. Suddenly he thought of the fuck buddy he met at the underwear party, Michelle, the female pilot who played in the popular movie Avatar, that tough woman. Zhou Jixi couldn't help but think of the passion with her that night. Although this woman also likes women and men, she is really very tasteful. Especially the trident-like abdominal muscles and the elastic buttocks. And those tight thighs plus those red lips. It would be a real pleasure to suck in them. But we just had sex once. Isn't it a bit bad to ask her out like this? What if she doesn't agree? Wouldn't it be embarrassing? It's really a dilemma. At this time, Nikki Hilton was taking a bath in her apartment, and she wanted to take a good vacation. She has been working too much recently, and her skin feels a little loose, and her complexion is a lot duller. After kicking the foam in the bathtub casually, Nikki suddenly thought of the Oriental boy. Thanks to him, she has been getting along well with several Chinese circles recently. These Chinese are indeed low-key rich people, and these few parties. She has broadened her horizons, but these Chinese old people are really old-fashioned. Thinking of some unpleasant experiences, she simply stopped thinking about this matter. But where should I go on vacation recently? Nikki was thinking about how to spend the holidays these days. The phone at home suddenly rang, but there was no need to run out now. He stretched out his right foot and used his big toe to press one of the buttons on the right wall, and the phone was answered instantly. Hey, my dear sister, where are you going to spend your vacation? Do you want me, your favorite sister, to help you with some advice? Paris Hilton's voice rang in the bathroom. It's this bastard again. It seems that my vacation may be ruined. Nikki first muttered in a low voice, and then said loudly, Paris, why are you so concerned about my vacation? Tell me, your favorite sister, what strange plan do you have? This is really a bit helpless. Paris is also taking a bath at this time, but she is wearing a pink towel on her head to cover her hair. The decoration color of the bathroom is much more different from that of Nikki's. Just like the personalities of the two people, although they are sisters, there are still many differences in personality. There is a charity auction in San Francisco recently. There are many executives and directors of listed companies going there. How about going with your dear sister, Nikki? You have been single for a while now. Don't you want to find a boyfriend? Paris said. Paris, I don't want to go now. Don't talk anymore. I'm too busy recently. I just want to enjoy a good vacation now. It's a pity that you didn't convince me. Okay, bye, sister. Nikki hung up the phone immediately after saying that. She knew that if she continued to talk, she would definitely be tempted or convinced by her. Zhou was talking on the phone at this time. Hey, Michelle, it seems that I can only regret it now, but since you are filming, forget it. He called her just now, but Michelle didn't have time tomorrow and couldn't come in time, so she could only refuse embarrassedly. In fact, she also wanted to communicate with Zhou in her heart, but it was a pity that some things could not be just thought about. After hanging up the phone, he blushed a little. Damn, I've said that good things don't work, but bad things do. What a crow's mouth. Zhou complained and cursed, and then lay on the bed to rest for a while. Forget it. Why don't you just find a young model? Why do you have to find someone so and so? Or I'll go back to find Cheyenne. I believe that's also a good choice. Zhou couldn't help but think of this, but immediately shook his head. It's not easy to go out and play without bringing a kid. How can I tie myself back? How stupid is that? Suddenly his mobile phone rang with a song of Girls' Generation. He took the phone and looked at it. Hey. Nikki Hilton, she thought of calling me so much. Zhou muttered with a little surprise. Hey, beautiful girl, it's a wonderful thing to hear your voice at this beautiful time. Zhou said a love word before she started talking, but the effect was also very obvious. Nikki was also very happy to hear it. My lovely sweetheart, your mouth is still so sweet. I want to try it now to see if it is smeared with cheese. Baby, I can't help but want to lick it. Nikki also said a love word to Zhou. Me too. Zhou said and made a sound of swallowing saliva. Really? Baby, guess what I'm thinking about now? Nikki said to Zhou in a seductive voice. Sweetheart, my girl, you must be thinking about fucking me, right? Because I'm thinking about this too. Zhou said to the phone in a mean way. Bingo, baby, you got it right. I want to fuck you now. I want your hot big meat stick inserted into my body. I want you to squirt inside. I want you to fuck until you're coming. Fuck until you're twitching. Nikki said to Zhou in the bathtub. Baby, I feel it. I'm caressing your big boobs. Yeah, yes, I'm touching your big tits now too. Before the two started talking about anything, they started talking about love, but then things got more and more wrong. Nikki put her hand down while she was talking and was talking to Zhou about her feelings and dirty talk on the phone. Zhou was actually seduced by this girl and he couldn't put the phone down at this moment. The voice of this little goblin and her moans deeply attracted him at this moment, so he couldn't help but unbutton his pants. I never thought that, after becoming a billionaire, I would still be able to do it myself, and more than once. Chapter 300 Go. At night, on the rooftop of the Hilton Hotel in San Francisco, some so-called celebrities have come. At this time, most people are walking around in it at will. Some are sitting in groups of 2, 3, or 4, whispering something, and the people around them nod or shake their heads from time to time, or say a few words, and everyone is chatting happily. At this time, the place has been completely decorated, with a gauze curtain set up around it, and there are some seats inside. Some guests can chat with a few people inside. The waiters wearing white lining, and black vests and bows on their necks, are walking around the table from time to time. One will hand champagne to this person, and the other will hand red wine to that person, all kinds of alcoholic beverages. Today, the self-service food here is also very rich, and a lot of food is placed on 2 long tables spliced together. There are cakes, vegetable salads, meat and seafood, etc., which are almost everything on the market. Moreover, most of the food here is very delicate and beautiful, and the most important thing is that the portions are quite sufficient. The organizers obviously knew that many of the guests invited were not the kind who just pretended to eat, but didn't really eat much. They were almost all successful in their respective industries and proved themselves. Moreover, most of these people were casual and ate whatever they wanted. So the organizers prepared a lot of food, obviously to deal with these people. Because there were many celebrities in this charity auction, the security in the hotel was very good. Anyone who didn't have an invitation card was not allowed to enter. Even if there were people with invitations, there were only 1 or 2 people at most, either female or male companions, and of course sometimes friends wanted to come together. The security guards would also connect to the command center, and only after they were approved, they could be allowed to enter. Of course, there were actually many people who just used their faces. The faces of these people could almost be used as a top-notch business card. After Zhou finished the phone sex with Nikki, he couldn't help but want to have a real fight. He had done enough masturbation in his previous life, and now he had to live this kind of life in this life. Even the uncle couldn't stand it, let alone the aunt. At that time, he asked Nikki to fly over, and Nikki thought that she had nothing to do. It was just right for her to think about where to go with him, but she had to continue the war first. Thinking of his masculine voice on the phone just now, her body was almost a little hot. After finishing the business, she would find a place to vacation with this little man in a few days. Zhou didn't wait long. While he was still eating dinner in his suite, Nikki had already arrived in San Francisco. But she didn't go to him. She just took the address Zhou sent him, and took a taxi to the Four Seasons Hotel. Because Zhou had already informed the hotel staff that a woman would come to him soon. Nikki also knew very well about the hotel. After all, she was the 4th generation of the Hilton family. She had lived in the hotel since she was a child, so how could she not understand the rules of these large hotels? But she still wore sunglasses and a hat on her head. But now there are a lot of self-media. For safety reasons, she was afraid to let people know that she came to San Francisco, and she went to a man's room. It was obvious what this meant. Sure enough, his quiet arrival gave Zhou a big surprise. Nikki hugged him the moment Zhou opened the door. "My baby, I miss you so much," Nikki said without waiting for Zhou to say a word or two, and directly covered her mouth. Her bright red lips soon slammed against Zhou's. Then she stuck her tongue in, sliding and teasing in her mouth from time to time. The two of them kissed French wet for a long time. If Nikki's lungs couldn't bear it, Zhou would not be willing to let her go immediately. "Nikki, I didn't expect you to arrive so soon. It's such a surprise, baby." "Really? I'm glad you like it. It seems that I did a good job on this flight." As soon as she finished speaking, she launched a more fierce attack on Zhou. Nikki jumped on him, hugged his neck with both hands, and wrapped her legs around Zhou's waist. After she jumped up, Zhou immediately grabbed her buttocks. Zhou felt very comfortable every time he pinched and touched the elastic buttocks. So the two of them didn't say much and started to do it directly in this ambassador suite. After a round of 6, Nikki lay beside him, and her face still had the afterglow of the exercise with Zhou. Seeing her like this, Zhou felt a little excited again. The little brother actually made a tent under his body. Nikki's eyes were as charming as silk, and she looked at his little tent with a sweet smile. Baby, come on, I want more. Sure enough, there are only tired cows, but no plowing land. After Zhou muttered, he couldn't wait to pounce on her again, and then World War II began again. The two stayed in the hotel for one night, and the next day Zhou told Nikki that there was a charity auction, and hoped that Nikki could go with him. And Nikki quickly agreed this time. Compared with Paris, Nikki still liked to go with Zhou. Although she felt a little sorry, the two went out for a walk the next day. Although it was too late to customize a dress, it would be nice to buy some world famous dresses. Nikki was the same. She didn't bring anything when she came, only a small suitcase, which couldn't hold a dress at all. In addition, women have always been very interested in shopping in designer stores. As a result, Zhou accompanied her shopping for more than 3 hours. This was because they had to go to the venue in a few hours, and had to put on makeup, so they stopped shopping. But it wasn't that Nikki liked it this time. It was that Zhou became more and more interested in shopping. He would go from one store to another from time to time, and tried on clothes of various styles. He would buy whatever he liked, and he would buy 2 sets at a time. Of course, he didn't mean to show off. In fact, he didn't have to buy expensive clothes. Some of them were quite cheap, but he liked the styles. The main reason for buying 2 sets was to put one in the space so that he would have a mobile wardrobe with him. Haha. This is probably what every beauty-loving woman wants. Think about their big and small bags, and then look at yourself. You can carry a lot of clothes with you anytime and anywhere. It turns out that sometimes comparison brings happiness. This really makes sense. Chapter 301 People of San Francisco. In the evening, Zhou called the car rental company, rented a luxury sports car, and brought Nikki Hilton to the Hilton Hotel. Although he was quite rich, he still needed to buy a car. There was no need to waste money to buy it and leave it there. Now is a good year for investment. Hobb spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and the car he bought would not appreciate but depreciate continuously. No one could bear it. Moreover, he still owed the bank a lot of money. Before he sold Apple stock, he was still a big debtor. When his second sideline business made money, he would consider the next thing. However, speaking of it, his Sky Game company, which was selling fruit swordsmen, has now begun to make a profit, but the money still needs to be invested in the company, and there is no money for the time being. The car had been driven away by the hotel's parking boy. The two walked on the road. Zhou, who was a little absent-minded, followed Nikki, but Nikki obviously did not look ahead at this time, causing Zhou to bump into the person in front without even looking. The man in front of him stumbled a few steps after being bumped by Zhou. Zhou quickly came back to his senses. Seeing that the person he bumped into was an elderly Chinese man, he took a few steps forward and supported the person he bumped into. He said, "I'm really sorry, it's all my fault, I'm sorry." Nikki, who was standing next to him, also saw it. When Zhou stepped forward, he followed him. When Zhou supported the person, she also helped to support him on the left. "I'm really sorry, it's all because we didn't look ahead." She also apologized. The old man quickly balanced himself with the support of the two people, and after calming down, he heard the two people's apologies in succession. He immediately understood what happened, but he was not too angry. His good upbringing and experience in government service did not allow him to do anything too rude in public. "Okay, young man, I'm fine." After saying that, he looked at Nikki, Hilton's daughter. The old man frowned. The sisters were somewhat famous in the United States, but they were not well known in the conservative Chinese community and circle, especially the elder sister Paris. The younger sister Nikki was not as outspoken as her sister, so the old man did not dwell on it too much. "That's good. I'm really sorry for what happened just now," Zhou continued to say on his left. The old man looked at Zhou carefully at this moment. Although his facial features were very three-dimensional, his eye sockets were a little deep, and his physique was also very strong. However, he still found that this person was of Chinese descent, and he would not think of Japanese or Korean descent. The two sides gave people a very different demeanor and feeling, although they were both yellow-skinned and black-haired. "You are of Chinese descent. Can you speak Chinese?" The old man said. Of course. Jay Chow answered very affirmatively. Then he apologized to the old man in Chinese again. No, my health is not something that can be damaged by your little attack. But it seems that the beautiful scenery on the road has attracted a lot of your attention, or it is the beauty that just passed by that attracted you. Although the old man said cheerfully, it was obvious that he was saying this to make him look bad, and he didn't even look at Nikki, who was still beside him. Zhao Jixi avoided Nikki's gaze and laughed. This gentleman is really humorous. Although the girl who walked by is also very beautiful, my princess is already at my disposal today. As soon as he finished speaking, Nikki's eyes suddenly became much better, and the originally somewhat jealous heart was also evacuated. Haha. The old man looked at the secret battle between the two, and the unhappiness just now disappeared immediately. This time it was moved back. Maybe this young man may have to sleep alone at night. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but be happier. Although there was a small episode, the three of them didn't take it to heart. Zhao Jixi looked at the many people who came today, but there didn't seem to be many Chinese. He thought about it, and decided to follow the old man in front of him. After all, he looked like a local snake. Hello, although there was a little surprise when we met, I'm still very happy to meet you. My name is Zhao Jixi, you can call me Jixi, or Zhao is also fine. Okay, young man, although it's a little unexpected, it doesn't matter now. Zhao Jixi is a good name. Your joining seems to have some expectations for you. My name is Li Mengson. Li Mengson also shook hands with Zhao Jixi and said, Li Mengson? This guy seems to have a similar name to the future mayor of San Francisco. Look at this 6'7" hair, and the beard, a big frame of glasses, and a little fat on the face. Isn't it the mayor of San Francisco? Speaking of Zhao Jixi, I knew this person on the internet when I was a otaku in my previous life. He is the first Chinese mayor in the United States and has initiated a very famous Bat Baby activity. Although this activity is a bit of a waste of public resources, it has been well received in the United States. Americans have always attached great importance to children. They say that among these little guys, there will definitely be presidents and generals in the future. Therefore, American school buses are stronger than Hummers, and they also take children's dreams and suggestions into consideration. This is not like the Chinese Empire, which likes to pretend. As long as they have some political achievements, basically no one will pay attention to them. Thinking of this, Zhao Jixi said to him, it seems that you are here to participate in this charity auction today. Well, it's all for charity. Li Mengson said easily, it's a good thing for young people to have a heart to contribute to public welfare. When I see you, I feel that the future of charity will always be full of sunshine. Mr. Lee, thank you for your compliment. To be honest, this is my first time to come to a charity auction. Speaking of which, it's my first time to do this charity before. Mr. Lee, you make me admire you very much. Zhao Jixi followed Li Mengson and came to the independent elevator on the hotel side. After handing the invitation letter to the tall black security guard in front of him, several people got on the elevator together. After arriving here, Nikki was very adaptable. She first helped Zhao Jixi get a glass of champagne, clinked it with him, and the two smiled and drank a little. The Mr. Lee just now seems to work in the government. Well, but how do you know? Weren't you walking behind us just now? Nikki was afraid of being photographed outside the door just now, so she and Jay Chow walked together at a distance. Jay Chow walked in front with Li Mengson. As for what the two talked about, it was obviously impossible for Nikki to hear. Look around him. Nikki looked over there secretly. See, the people around him are all government people, and the person next to the current mayor of San Francisco, Newsom, is the current chairman of the Council of Advisors, QI Using Fu. He is also a Chinese American. In recent years, more and more Chinese American officials in San Francisco have participated in politics. Nikki explained to Jay Chow. Oh, he responded, isn't it said that there are very few Chinese Americans in the United States who participate in politics? I met two today, and they are both powerful Chinese Americans in this city. There are already a large number of Chinese Americans in San Francisco, and the Chinese American Federation is becoming more and more active, encouraging those people to come out and vote. In addition, there are more and more young Chinese Americans now, and they have a better understanding of protecting their own rights, so it is normal for a few Chinese officials to come out, Nikki explained to Jay Chou. But after she finished speaking, she saw Jay Chou looking at her in surprise. Baby, how do you know so much? Everyone knows this. Don't you watch the news? Nikki said with a strange look on her face. The two were talking quietly on their side, but a person in the distance quickly noticed this side. He walked over after seeing Jay Chou. Hey, Jess, I didn't expect you to come here too. Didn't you say you were going back to China last time? Wow, darling, I didn't expect to see you today. Jay Chou hugged him excitedly when he saw that the person coming over was Huang Duling. It was a great thing to see an acquaintance on this occasion, especially when this person got along well with him. Huang Duling shrugged his shoulders. I came here with my dad, but luckily there are a few friends over there, otherwise today would definitely not be a good day. He said and looked at Nikki next to Jay Chou. Wow, look who this is. Nikki, you are so beautiful today. He said and performed American etiquette. Fortunately, Jay Chou was used to it. The culture is different. Since he decided to live here, he still had to adapt to it. Anyway, they are not the only ones who can do it. He can also perform American etiquette. Thank you, darling. But you said it so nicely. I hope it doesn't make the girl behind you feel sad. Nikki said in his ear. Now she saw a Chinese girl walking towards this side, but she was just average looking, but her temperament was good. Huang Duling looked back and smiled at the girl who came over. I don't think she would mind. She believes that being a wise woman will attract wise men more than a beautiful woman. Why do I feel like this is a curse? Zhao Jixi said to Huang Duling jokingly. The woman came over and heard their conversation, but she also smiled. Sorry, I disturbed you. It doesn't matter, I'm also very interested in meeting a wise woman. Zhao Jixi said indifferently. Although this woman is average looking, she still has a good figure, plus her temperament is very outstanding, and as she said, she is a wise woman. You can feel that this girl is very smart in her eyes. You are very humorous. The woman said. My friends think so too. Zhao Jixi said this sentence in a tit-for-tat manner, but talking to this woman made him feel that he always had a sense of embarrassment, which made him a little unhappy. Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Zhang Xiangli. Haha. Chapter 302 Women. My friends think so too. Zhao Jixi said this in a tit-for-tat manner, but talking to this woman made him feel awkward, which made him a little unhappy. Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Xiangli. Zhang. Haha. Zhao Jixi looked at her face carefully. Isn't she the princess who looks very similar to her father? This person not only inherited her father's property, but also inherited his father's appearance. Things are not always perfect. You have what you want, and you also have what you don't want. God can't let you worry too much. Zhang Xiangli didn't care about Zhao Jixi's words. After decades, she has been shining under the glory of her father, and has long adapted to it. People can't ask for too much. She got everything that others think is everything. What she lost is just that her father's name always appears in her life. Zhang Xiangli smiled heartily. Yes, it seems that you are also a consumer of our products. Indeed, I have almost had this thing in my life since I was a child. Nice to meet you. My name is Jay Chou. Actually, I can speak Chinese. Hello, but in this English speaking country and gathering, I think it's better to speak English. Jay Chou was stunned when he heard this. What does this mean? But now he said, okay, I have always respected women's opinions, but now you really make me admire you, always demanding yourself. Good. Okay, it seems that you guys are having a good chat. Huang Duling greeted Nikki, and the two were also friends, so they chatted casually for a few words. Then he saw Jay Chou and Zhang Xiangli said, yeah, honey, what are you talking about? Can you share it with me? Nikki said sweetly to Jay Chou. She had a strange feeling about the woman in front of her. Anyway, she didn't like her very much, especially she divided women into smart and beautiful. What is she talking about? Saying that I have big breasts and no brains? Or do you think I'm just a fool? Not bad. Mr. Zhao is a very suitable person to chat with. It's very pleasant to chat with him. Zhang Xiangli said to Huang Duling with a smile. That's good. Jess is my good friend. It's best if you can chat with each other. After he finished speaking, he said to Zhao Jixi, I met Zhang Li when I participated in the Chinese Youth Federation before. She is a very hardworking, motivated and leadership-oriented person. If you get in touch with her more, you will definitely change your views on life. Zhao Jixi nodded when he heard it, but Huang Duling knew from his expression that he didn't listen to what he said. Forget it, Jess will know Zhang Li's character by then. Then he wanted to say something to Zhao Jixi. Okay, I know. But I think my current attitude towards life is very good. Can't you see that I'm making money every second recently? Zhao Jixi said. Of course, you are very famous in the market recently. I heard that you made more than 10 million from Apple. When will you come out to treat us? Huang Duling patted Zhao Jixi on the shoulder and said. But you are not in China. What are you doing here this time? Of course I'm here to participate in charity. Can't you see that I can't wait to make a contribution to the children in Africa? Zhao Jixi said to him, as if it was a matter of course. When Zhao Jixi spoke, he spoke a little loudly, and the four of them could hear it. They were stunned for a moment, and then began to laugh. Among them, Zhang Li smiled, and said to him, Mr. Zhao, just call me Jess. Okay, Jess, you are really a very humorous person. He was a little confused by this. Honey, we are here today to participate in the charity auction held by the Cancer Relief Association, not to donate money to African children. Although Nikki was laughing, she still explained to Zhao Jixi in a low voice. Zhao Jixi immediately looked at the people next to him, and then patrolled the people outside their circle, and found that no one was looking at him, or paying attention to what he was saying. Only then did he feel relieved. Damn, if someone heard this, it would be so embarrassing. Now the situation is okay. Haha. I was just kidding with you all. It seems that I do have a natural sense of humor. Zhao Jixi said this with a smile, but he almost wanted to curse in his heart to feel comfortable. However, this sentence did not ease their laughter, but made the three of them laugh even harder. Because of Zhao Jixi's funny, the atmosphere among the few people is now much better. They are no longer as restrained as when they first came. After all, they are familiar with each other, so it is much easier to talk about things. After chatting with Zhang Li for a while, Zhao Jixi couldn't help but admire this ordinary looking woman. As expected, as the daughter of a man who occupied the #1 position in the Celestial Empire for a period of time, she still has her confidence and pride. She was always confident in the conversation. Although she could not be thorough in treating people, according to her status, it was impossible for her to talk to everyone like a friend, making people feel like they were in spring breeze. For example, Nikki. Now Zhao Jixi can see that this woman does not have much affection for Zhang Li. In her words, compared with her sister, this woman is more like a proud bitch. She is really unpleasant. Zhao Jixi could only shrug her shoulders. She really couldn't say anything. Then his sister, or his cheap sister-in-law. To compare, Zhao Jixi thought that if he said something, Nikki might give him a good one in bed. Women's hearts are always like needles in the sea. The few people chatted together and soon attracted the attention of some people, especially some people in China, and the local Chinese natives in California. Zhao Jixi also knew a few people. He had played with them last time. Now they saw him, so a few people came over, and the young people from China followed behind. Li Mengxin also noticed that the Chinese gathered over there, and many of them were rich people in California. There were also children of rich people, who were all supporters of them. But he wanted to wait a while, to go over and talk, and QI using Fu next to him couldn't help it. He has also received some news now. Now the party has nominated Newsom as vice president to participate in the election. And the vacant position when he leaves may fall into his hands, so he is in urgent need of the support of some people, especially those who are influential in the local area. Chapter 303 Meeting. Jay Chou followed and chatted with Chiu Xingfu, the chairman of the California State Council of Advisors, who had come over to their side. It had to be said that this type of politician was very fluent in speaking. Although some of his words were serious and boring, Jay Chou found his explanation quite interesting. Moreover, this person was very good at attracting people's attention to him, as if there was an aura surrounding him. He had a good impression of this person. As a Chinese American, He was still working hard for his goals in a country where Chinese Americans did not actively participate in politics. This was very admirable. In addition, this person and he were both Chinese Americans. With the attitude that more people means more warmth, Zhou had a good chat with him. Mr. Zhou, you are such a knowledgeable person. As a Chinese American, I'm very happy to see you achieve this. Zhou said. Thank you. Mr. Zhou is also a Chinese American now. We can actually communicate more. Chinese Americans need to have more say. We have such a large population, but only a disproportionate number of officials serve in the government. As a young generation, we need to fight for more rights for Chinese Americans. QI using Fu's words were very contagious. Then Zhao Jixi dealt with each person around him and chatted with them casually. Everyone who got along well also left their contact information, saying that they would meet up to get together in the future. Zhao Jixi also felt that it made sense. Xiang Teizu said that there is strength in numbers and the majority can be won over to attack the minority. Nikki is very good at this kind of social activities. From time to time, she chats with this person and that person, which is very lively. Now she is sitting in a gauze tent with several women, chatting about fashion and the new products of a certain brand this season, or what different details a new designer has brought to a certain brand. In short, women are always very talented in chatting. No matter what the topic is, they can always go off topic in the end. Zhao Jixi went over to take a look, and after saying a few words, he felt very bored. Suddenly, he found a pair of eyes looking at him, and he couldn't help but look over. A man over 45 years old, with grey hair that was only close to his head, with a slightly mottled stubble. Although he looked unkempt, it also revealed his unruly nature. A black suit with a white lining, a bow tie around his neck, and black leather shoes on his feet. He looked more like an ordinary gentleman. He didn't even feel the domineering spirit of the superior, but instead had a casual sense of intimacy. But that pair of wise eyes, through the round glasses, a strong and confident light flickered, and at the corners of the mouth, even he could read a kind of persistence called arrogance. As expected, ordinary people always have something extraordinary. Many things give people a different feeling from ordinary people. Perhaps, this is the character of Steve Jobs. Zhao Jixi looked at Jobs, who was carrying his wife Helen in the distance, and thought secretly. Zhao Jixi still remembers reading his autobiography before, but he couldn't read it at all at that time, although he had an extraordinary curiosity about this man who created countless miracles. But compared to novels, if you want to read his autobiography, you should wait until you are out of books. But he still remembers a classic saying of Steve Jobs, "Don't live for others." This sentence seems easy to understand, but it can always distinguish many different meanings. He interprets human nature and your life. Zhao Jixi doesn't know if he understands it right. Sometimes he really wants to try this feeling. When talking about Steve Jobs, you can add a series of embellishments in front of his name. For example, inventor, entrepreneur, co-founder of Apple, and genius who changed the world. In the future, Steve Jobs brought Apple to the top of the world, profoundly changing the way of modern communication, entertainment, and even life. It can be said that he changed an era and also deeply imprinted the traces of his existence in this era. He not only led Apple to create iPod, iPhone and other life-related appliances. Even when he was kicked out of Apple, he invested in several companies and achieved remarkable results. Later, he also took over Pixar Animation Studios and created a new animation era. Zhao Jixi was speechless about the ability of the strong man. The ancestors were right. Gold can shine everywhere. Now such a successful person is actually going to talk to me, and they may become colleagues in the end. Thinking about this, Zhao Jixi felt that the goddess of fate was just like this. After he raped her once, he now pounced on her like a slut, making it difficult for him to refuse this benefit. Hey, honey, Steve Jobs is here too, and so is his wife Helen. Should we go over and say hello? What do you think of this idea? Nikki was very interested in going over to chat with Zhou. She had met Steve Jobs several times. She had also communicated with his wife Helen several times, but they were all just a few words. Although Nikki seemed to be quite impressive, and her last name was still Hilton, she was only the fourth generation, and she only received dividends from the family. The little business she had done was really not worth mentioning. Compared with Jobs, she was really not a person of the same level. Okay, that's a good idea. Jay Chou also agreed. He came here for a purpose. After saying that, he didn't care about Nuka's slightly surprised expression and casually put the empty champagne blanket on the tray of the nearby waiter and then took 2 new glasses of champagne and handed one to Nikki next to him. "Thank you, dear. You are really my gentleman." Nikki kissed Jay Chou after she said that. "Beautiful lady, it's my honor to serve you." Steve Jobs saw Jay Chou when he came in. A few days ago, his assistant sent him a file about Jay Chou. Although the information in it was very limited, it gave him some understanding of this young Chinese. I have to say that when he saw the file, he really couldn't believe it. Someone actually mortgaged a lot of good assets, borrowed more than 1 billion in the bank, and sold some good stocks on the market. In the end, most of the money was invested in Apple and Facebook, which was becoming more and more domineering. At first glance, he thought this person was crazy when he saw such an investment allocation. This is not a good or bad investment plan at all. The risk is too great, and there is no diversified investment to avoid some possible risks. He just invested all the money in technology companies and did not invest in other industries to avoid risks. Although one of them is his Apple company, he is not so crazy about his own company. He has money, but will not buy too many Apple stocks. Of course, leaving this aside, it is also a very comfortable thing to have a shareholder who trusts you so much and invests all his money in your company. However, he also concluded some of the characteristics of this young Chinese man: paranoia, and madness, and self-confidence, or it can be said to be blind. But at this moment, his investment is indeed growing non-stop, and Apple and Facebook have lived up to his expectations. The stock prices of both companies are growing steadily, and their market values are also appreciating. This also proves that people here are very insightful, and blindness has turned into self-confidence and determination. Successful people have always won respect, which is why Jobs looked down on Zhou, not because of race or age. "What an interesting little guy." At that time in the office, Jobs said slowly to Jay Chou's information. He has always believed in birds of a feather flock together. First-class talents discover first-class talents and employ first-class talents. Only successful people can attract successful people. Although Jay Chou made him feel a little paranoid and blindly confident, his investment is likely to succeed, and he is on the way to success. If he fails halfway, he is probably a loser. The interests of the two are the same at this time, unless he sells Apple stocks halfway. Helen is Jobs' wife, and also his good assistant. She also understands her husband's purpose today. She looked up at the young man who was walking over. He was the target of her husband's attack today. Recently, the young man's behavior in the stock market has been a bit ugly. Although he bought a lot of Apple stocks, his behavior in the stock market is like a vampire. She didn't say much about her husband's decision to let him join the board of directors, because she also knew that Jobs was not a person who would easily change his mind based on other people's suggestions, although Jobs was very experienced in changing other people's minds. "Steve, it looks like that young man is coming over," Helen whispered in her husband's ear. Jobs smiled at his wife. "Well, I've seen it. Sharks that smell blood don't like to wait for prey to come to them. This little guy can't wait." But as soon as he finished speaking, he looked at Jay Chou and pointed at the cup in his hand. He found that his expression was not too excited or too nervous, and there was only perhaps something else in his eyes. It seems that he is just a stupid shark that only knows how to pursue the smell of blood. But I know that no matter he is a stupid shark or a smart shark, I believe he will give it to you, the captain, to catch. Helen followed Steve Jobs and said, Chapter 304 Blackface. PS. Sorry everyone, the store has been too busy recently, so the update will probably be changed to the evening for this period of time. But Zhou will work hard and try to code more so that I can keep up in the afternoon. At night, the evening breeze blows gently. There is no strong wind in San Francisco this season, only a slight breeze. If you smell it casually, you can still smell some sea flavor. Zhou Jixi didn't know that the Jobs couple opposite him were discussing him at this time, but he just walked over there with Nikki. To be honest, he really didn't prepare for today's conversation, so he couldn't help feeling a little guilty now. But I think it was Jobs who put forward the conditions this time, and I just need to see if it is suitable. If I feel satisfied, I will agree. If I don't think it's good, there is nothing to talk about. Now I rely on knowing how much Apple stock will rise, and I will definitely plan to hold it for a long time, but Jobs doesn't know this. Anyway, the initiative is in my hands. As long as he doesn't covet that position, there is nothing to worry about. There were several shareholders of Apple and other companies around Steve Jobs, who were communicating with him. As Jay Chou got closer, everyone saw him coming, and several people couldn't help but laugh. Hey, Steve, it seems that you really don't like to be idle for a moment, and you are still thinking about work now. No way. Apple has reached a bottleneck recently. I have to grasp the stability of the market. Jobs said this with deep meaning. Recently, Jay Chou is not the only one playing this trick in the market, and some shareholders of Apple are also following behind. He now wants to take down the biggest Jay Chou to prevent those shareholders who want to follow suit. Now saying this also has a warning flavor. Of course, having someone like you who contributes to the company is what we shareholders are most happy to see. As a businessman, if he didn't have a thick skin, he wouldn't be able to get to this point. Then he took the cup and said, "Come in. Thank you for your contribution to the company." After that, he drank a sip by himself. If it were to be according to what Jay Chou said, there would be no sincerity at all. As the saying goes, the deeper the feelings, the more you drink. You only drink one sip. Do you think you are a mother? It seems that you will be busy again now, my friend. I wish you success. Thank you. Jobs said lightly. He has seen many people with this kind of face, and he doesn't care about one more person. Anyway, he didn't regard him as a person in his heart, just a fat borer. Although Jobs had seen Jay Chou's appearance in the photo, he couldn't help but feel a little emotional when he saw the real person. Compared with the photo, this real person still has a more temperament and a little mysterious that makes people elusive. Jay Chou looked at Jobs, who was preparing to greet him, and after a while, he slowly said, "Hello, Mr. Jobs. Thank you for your invitation. This is a great place. Although I have never contributed to charity, it seems that I have this opportunity today." "Really, Mr. Zhou?" Haha. Jobs smiled as if he was very happy. "I'm honored to be the one who invites you to charity. I believe that many people will benefit from your decision in the future." Zhou Jixi chuckled. "Haha. Is there something in mind? Please don't keep playing this game until now. Why don't we just talk openly?" He thought to himself. It seems that the Americans also like to play a trick. But Zhou Jixi really misunderstood. Jobs really didn't play that game. He was absolutely sincere in saying this now. The influence of a rich man doing charity is profound. Just as he thought, most of the rich man's friends are also rich. And the friends around the rich who have not done charity are also unimaginable. There are definitely many who have never done charity. I believe that by then, under Zhou Jixi's influence, a group of people will definitely gather together, and there will be many people who will benefit. As a leader, he still feels happy. After Zhou Jixi talked to Jobs for a few words, he saw Nikki greeted Helen. Zhou Jixi also greeted her, and gave her a kiss on the cheek in an American way. "Nice to meet you, beautiful lady." "Thank you, I'm honored to be praised by such a handsome guy," Helen said to Zhou Jixi very elegantly. Then the few people chatted casually for a few more words, to ease the slightly unfamiliar atmosphere. As they chatted, they felt that there were too many people around them. At Helen's suggestion, they came to an empty gauze tent, took some food from the long table casually, and sat down separately. The location of the gauze tent is well controlled. It is set in a windy surrounding position, and you can also see the night view of San Francisco from above. The most important thing is that this layer of thin gauze can make people feel a little bit of private space. Zhou Jixi ate something first. He tried it just now. The food for this activity was well prepared. The seafood dishes tasted great. He couldn't help but take more after eating some. And today's pasta, the sauce and noodles were mixed very well. He had already eaten a lot. The Jobs couple on the opposite side frowned when they saw Jay Chou and Nikki taking so much food. If they couldn't finish the food, they shouldn't take so much. They always disliked waste. Helen wanted to turn a blind eye at that time. She couldn't see that Nikki Hilton, a girl with a higher education, would do such a stupid thing. But seeing that her husband came with a purpose today, she held back, but her face was a little dark. She could tolerate other things sometimes, but as two upper class people, they still did such things in public, especially in this auction in the name of charity. The food was provided by the organizer. This is not something you bought in the restaurant. You can do whatever you want. As long as it doesn't affect others, no one will say anything more about you. It's like burning money yourself. Anyway, the money is yours. In the end, it will benefit the Federal Reserve. But who cares about you? Jobs is well mannered and shrewd. If you follow his temper, he will just give you the cold shoulder if he is unhappy. Even the tyrant of Disney gave him the cold shoulder a few times, but he still made a lot of money in the end. However, seeing how fast and how much Zhou eats, they finally understand why Nikki takes so many things. It is completely different from what the two thought at the beginning. She is just helping him. Now they only see Nikki eating a little herself. As for the rest, seeing that Zhou's plate is empty, Nikki gives him some more. Update fast pure text chapter 305 Domineering Apple. In the Hilton Hotel, inside the gauze tent, 4 people were sitting at this time. There was a lot of food on the table, but only one person was eating. Moreover, the food on the table was decreasing rapidly at a rate visible to the naked eye. The faces of the Jobs couple changed from a little dark to surprise and realization. Nikki was actually a little embarrassed at first, especially when she saw Helen's face a little dark. She knew what Helen was thinking. As a person with higher education, she would certainly not do such a shameful thing. But she didn't want to explain it at this moment. In fact, she couldn't help but want to see the surprised looks of the two people in her heart. It must be very fun. Sure enough, things were as expected. She knew that Zhou didn't like to be disturbed when he was eating. If he ate slowly, it would be fine. He could eat and chat. But if he ate quickly, it would be best not to disturb him. At this time, his temper might not be very good. This time, seeing the surprised looks of the two people, Nikki's little darkness in her heart was released in a very satisfying way. I'm really sorry, Jess eats a little too much. I hope you don't mind. And he doesn't like to stay still when he eats quickly, she said to the two after helping Zhou pass a piece of fried steak. We are indeed a little surprised. Helen paused for a moment before she spoke. The same was true for Jobs, but it only surprised him for a moment. He had seen all kinds of people in his life, but it was the first time that Jobs had seen someone so rich, so good at eating, and with a body like his. Zhou, who was eating, had actually seen the looks of the few people a long time ago. Haha. Sure enough, this quirk of people is a very pretentious weapon. Thinking about it, I didn't like to be disturbed when I was eating quickly. This quirk is really smart. Seeing that the fire was almost ready, and they had eaten a lot of the food, Zhou picked up the tablecloth and wiped his mouth. I'm so sorry, I'm full. You guys should eat more too. The food served today is very well made and tastes really great. Helen swallowed her saliva to hide her anger. I think we have already felt the charm of the delicious food you said. But thank you for your compliment. Seeing that Zhou still had some doubts after hearing Helen's words, Jobs said easily, Helen participated in the decision of today's food, especially the pasta you like, which was provided by Helen in an Italian restaurant she likes. Oh, Zhou nodded. Thank you, great food. Helen smiled happily after hearing this, and she couldn't help but have a better impression of Zhou. Many years later, she could still recall the first time she met this legendary figure, the way he ate quickly, and the words of praise he gave. She couldn't help but sigh that sometimes fate is so strange. After talking about food for a few words, they turned to the main topic of this time. Jobs said to Zhou seriously, Jess, I have seen your investment ratio. I have to say that I'm very happy to have someone who trusts Apple so much. But can I ask, what makes you so confident in Apple? Zhou wanted to say, I'll tell you, I've traveled back in time, and I know that when Apple was at its peak, the stock price had risen to more than $700. What the hell is this? When I bought it, it was only $140. Even if I continued to buy it later and raised the average price to $160, it was nothing compared to the mountain like $700. To rise to that level, it would take several times the profit. I invested so much money, and when I sell the stock, it will be so refreshing. Zhou sorted himself out, and then looked at him with his black eyes, and said seriously and solemnly, "It's you, Steve Jobs." Me. Jobs felt a little surprised, and his calm face couldn't help but show a little surprise at this time. But in fact, it was reasonable. But he couldn't help asking, why? Seeing this person who was almost a myth in his previous life, showing such a strange and questioning expression in front of him, Zhou was actually a little excited in his heart. This feeling is really good, especially the feeling of fooling this kind of historical celebrity. Zhou smiled, a big and particularly bright smile, with the wantonness and uninhibitedness of a young man. This couldn't help but remind Steve Jobs of the time when he founded Apple. At that time, he faced many investors, and he was so confident and young. Youth is always remembered. I remember at the end of the year 2000, Michael Dell, the CEO of Dell, once commented on the precarious situation of Apple. "If I were in Apple, I would close the company and return the money to the shareholders." This was the best description of Apple's dire situation at the time. But you didn't. No matter how people outside commented, you, Steve Jobs, persisted. I remember that, if you bought $10,000 worth of Apple stock in 2001, by this year, the stock would be worth $994,570, a figure that has increased by more than 90 times. Zhou said as he looked at the people sitting there, and finally fixed his eyes on Jobs. Indeed. Jobs said slowly, but he didn't say anything. It could be heard that this was just Zhou laying the groundwork. Haha. More importantly, in October this year, Apple has dominated the MP3 player market, reaching almost 80% of the market share, and has also created $26.7 billion in profits. However, in my opinion, these are just the beginning. Zhou's words were a bit unexpected, and the people around him were obviously stunned. Ignorant mortals. Thinking of this sentence from Colonel Chu, it feels so good to say it. Apple is now mature and is moving towards a higher level. In my opinion, it is just a matter of time before it surpasses Google. Zhou said this, which was actually a bit boastful in the eyes of several people. You know, now the lion stock price of Google is more than $400 and almost $500 per share. Apple is still hovering between 100 and 200. If it can surpass Google, those shareholders and stockholders will have a carnival. But Jobs is not an ordinary person. When he heard Zhou's words, a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. In his heart, he originally wanted to surpass Google, and even surpass other companies on the market. This is just the beginning. Although it was just a moment, Zhou still caught the light in Jobs' eyes. He couldn't help but laugh in his heart. After preparing his words, Zhou continued, Apple is very good at expanding new businesses. Remember that the popularity of iPod promoted the popularity of MP3 players. Apple saw the business opportunity, bound iPod and iTunes software, and established the Apple Store for paid music downloads, which was a huge success. This success has brought huge benefits to the company, and this platform has also brought a lot of benefits to countless musicians and music companies, and also killed the rising piracy. Zhou was really impressed by this. The copyright awareness of the old Americans is really beyond words. Zhou can only be speechless in China, where piracy is rampant. Western music has achieved healthy development because of the lack of piracy. In this way, musicians have bred and are more attentive when making music. As for China, this aspect is getting worse and worse. The content of the music is really lacking. Even the pop songs written by the last big China are not as good as those written by the little country of South Korea. Of course, this is not just about music, but also about movies, TV series, books, and a lot of other things. Well, Zhou felt that he sometimes thought too highly of himself. In his previous life, he also watched pirated movies. He watched a lot of pirated movies from China, and also pirated, live-action movies from Japan. It seemed that he had never bought the genuine ones. Let's get back to the point. The people at the table were still listening to Zhou saying, Apple pre-installed the Mac operating system on iMac computers. It successfully entered the operating system market through a simple and beautiful interface and extremely high execution efficiency, changed people's concept of using computers, and won people's love. In 2007, Apple entered the mobile phone market and launched the iPhone. Its fashionable appearance, powerful functions, and novel and simple operation immediately had a huge impact on the mobile phone market, thus triggering the trend of smartphones. In 2008, Apple launched the netbook MacBook Air with its fashionable and thin design, which triggered the subsequent netbook craze. In 2009, Apple continued to work hard and launched the tablet computer iPad, opening up a new electronic product market. Zhou talked about Apple's success in recent years one by one. Even Helen knew that this man seemed to have studied Apple carefully. Speaking of which, I really have to thank Harvey. Zhou put the information he provided in the space. When he couldn't think of what to say just now, he opened the information in the space, looked at it, and reduced it a little, and said to everyone, you know, there are still many things that he didn't say. He will now tell Jobs that Apple will break Nokia's 15-year-long position in sales and become the world's largest mobile phone manufacturer. In the end, Nokia's mobile phone business was almost scrapped. After 2011, Apple's market value will exceed ExxonMobil and become the world's most valuable listed company. In 2012, Apple surpassed HP and became the world's largest computer manufacturer. With this series of figures, how can Jay Chou not have confidence in Apple? Of course he is full of confidence. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 306. Welcome to Join. Jobs listened to JC's words quietly. Most people knew what he said, but there was no one as confident as JC, who was willing to bet most of his fortune. The only voices heard at the table were the two women's voices. The two women completely became supporting roles. Nikki knew that JC had invested in some projects. She thought he had invested in Apple, so she came to talk to the current CEO. She didn't expect the two to talk like this. Judging from their appearance and the information obtained from the conversation, JC seemed to have bought a lot of stocks. Jobs looked at JC Zhou and saw an inexplicable light flashing in his eyes. He said, thank you for your confidence in Apple. After listening to what you said, it seems to be similar to what I thought. It seems that my suggestion, that you join us, is definitely the right decision. Jess, are you ready? JC Zhou smiled, and this time he smiled easily. It's obvious. I'm optimistic about the future of Apple. As I said, it has much more potential than you. As long as the conditions are right, I believe no one will refuse. Jobs couldn't help but smile slightly in his heart. It seems that this move was right. Now as long as he pacifies the person in front of him, he believes that those small moves in the market will basically not be threatening. As long as the interests of most people are consistent, I think there is no better condition than this. Of course, this is very simple. Steady growth is the best. I think we can have another glass of champagne to celebrate. Jobs snapped his fingers at the approaching waiter, and the man came over with a tray with a few glasses of champagne on it. Jobs helped everyone get a cup, and they put their empty cups on top. Helen saw that what she admired most was Jobs' appearance. He was successful, confident, courageous, and wise. He could always solve problems one by one, just like the one in front of him. He not only solved a problem perfectly, but also strengthened his own strength. This is my Steve Jobs, the man I love all my life. Jobs stood up and raised his cup. He looked around at the people and said, I want to say here that Jess Zhou is welcome to join our Apple board of directors. Ah! Nikki exclaimed. Now she finally knew what the two had just talked about. It turned out that Jobs wanted Jess Zhou to join Apple's board of directors. This was really too surprising. She widened her eyes in disbelief, and after a while, she looked at Helen. Helen nodded at her, and she suddenly realized, so this is true. He just joined Apple's board of directors. It's Milner. Jess Zhou said. Cheers cheers. When the few people came out, Nikki couldn't believe it. She had hooked up with a young talent? Not those so-called movie stars, rock stars, or sports stars. He was young, handsome, sunny, gentlemanly, rich, and a little childish. This was her boyfriend. But this bastard never seemed to say that she wanted to be his girlfriend. Zhou Jixi met some senior executives of major companies with jobs, as well as some senators and congressmen. After a chat, Zhou Jixi felt that he had gained a lot, just like the business cards in his pocket and the phone numbers stored in his mobile phone. These all meant that his network of contacts was expanding step by step, and he would not be someone who could be easily manipulated in California in the future. One of the people who just chatted with him was a judge and the chief of the San Francisco Police Department, and he knew them all. Moreover, as a continent of immigrants, California has many Chinese and Asian officials here, especially QI using Fu and others who just treated him as a supporting role. They looked at Zhou Jixi a little incredible. Seeing him chatting and laughing with these celebrities, executives of listed companies, shareholders, senators and others, I couldn't help but regret not having a good chat with him just now. Fortunately, although I didn't know what this person did, I was also kind when chatting with him. It seems that my usual efforts to be close to the people have not been in vain. I treat everyone who is useful to me with the same courtesy. QI using Fu couldn't help but sigh for his actions of always being close to the people. It turns out that God likes to favor those who are prepared. I'm an example. Darling, Jess is still friends with Jobs, so he can chat with those people so well. Zhang Xiangli put down the champagne at her mouth and asked Tuang Darling with a strange look. Oh, I'm not sure, but he seems to have bought a lot of Apple stocks. I don't know the details. A Chinese Jewish man who had been to a Facebook party with Jay Chou said he also invested a lot of money in Facebook. Seeing these two companies that are in the limelight recently, I can't help but be a little jealous of Jess. Yeah, I don't know how much his wealth has increased recently. Another Chinese said. After hearing these words, Zhang Xiangli had some understanding of the man she just met. Darling, it seems that his investment vision is very good. Yes, let's not talk about these first. At least he is a good friend. Huang Darling said thoughtfully. The short communication time passed, and at this time, a person had already stood on the high platform built in the center of the venue. He was a middle-aged white man wearing a very formal suit, but the years did not make him old, but gave him a kind of charm of a settled man. At this time, several lights were directed at his position, making his short smile full of attraction. The women around him looked very excited, and some even whistled. After Zhou Jixi looked around, he saw that there was another woman around him who was also blowing a hooligan whistle. When she saw him looking at her, she also gave him a wink, and her eyes were even looking at his butt without concealment. He even licked his tongue while watching her. Fuck, this woman is crazy. She is so bold to act like a gangster. It turns out that foreign gangsters are not gender specific. I have to be more careful in the future. Who knows if I can get the woman and she will take advantage of me. When Zhou Jixi looked at her, the woman secretly used her right hand to make a gesture like Michael Jackson's egg lifting gesture. It was like a metaphor that the pistol was already loaded. Although the woman's mouth did not make any sound, he could still tell what the shape of her mouth meant. Come. Fuck me. Chapter 307 Auction. Soon the auctioneer on the stage began to speak. He first thanked the organizers and then the donors. He talked nonsense for a while, but no one felt bored. The speaker had a good sense of humor and could make people laugh every 10 seconds. Although Jay Chou didn't understand some of the jokes, he found them interesting and laughed a few times when he saw that most people laughed. Items were delivered one after another. To be honest, there were some good things, but the highest was an oil painting worth more than 500,000 yuan. Others were very commemorative things. Although the materials were not expensive, the celebrity effect was still very effective. One of them was said to be Elvis Presley's underwear. The donor used a vacuum glass to hold it. Jay Chou could still see the penis, and there were some yellow dirty things. This weird thing was actually auctioned for more than 20,000 US dollars. What's the big deal for those Japanese actresses to buy a few hundred yuan of underwear? This is really awesome. Just a pair of torn underwear that was worn without washing can be worth more than 70,000 Chinese yuan. The person who bought it was a woman. Yes, a woman. Zhou Jixi knew without thinking that she was a rock fan. Did this woman take this thing back to masturbate? He murmured. This was originally donated by her. This time she just bought it back to show off this product that she is very proud of. Nikki said to Zhou Jixi, and seeing that he was still a little speechless, she continued, it is said that this is the underwear that Elvis didn't have time to wear when he was having an affair. As for whether it is true, I don't know, but this pair of pants was indeed worn by Elvis. Forget it. Collecting underwear is also a hobby, isn't it? People are born free and don't care about their own affairs. Zhou Jixi thought secretly. Then, a lot of things were auctioned off one after another. Zhou Jixi saw all kinds of weird things, and some of them were priced very high. Usually, the owners of these things would bid them back. Everyone was out to do charity, so they had to do something fancy. Seeing these people bid their things back, or bid them off to strangers, the people around would smile and joke with them. Zhou Jixi also wanted to play a little, but he didn't know if he could donate it now, and he didn't seem to know what to donate. This is a piece of Mars meteorite donated by Mr. Bart. This is a strange meteorite he picked up during his expedition. This time, Mr. Bart donated it, hoping to help people. Okay, the reserve price is $30,000 and the bidding will start now. The handsome auctioneer on the stage began to speak. This meteorite looks good. I haven't bought much yet. After all, I'm here to do charity. I have to buy something to take back. It's something from outer space. Zhou Jixi thought about it and something seemed to flash in his mind, but it seemed like nothing. Forget it. If I can't think of it, I won't think about it. $35,000. A white man shouted. $37,000. Another person raised the price. But before the person in front could say more than 2 seconds, someone else started shouting, I'll bid $40,000. After he said that, the scene paused for a while, but this auctioneer was a senior person. Of course, he took over the conversation now. Okay, $40,000 for one time, $40,000 for 2 times. I'll offer $50,000. Seeing that the people in front have already bid, and now they have bid for the second time, if he doesn't make a move, the thing will definitely not be his later. But apparently God didn't let him get it done all at once, and the man just now shouted unwillingly, $55,000. Okay, the gentleman just now continued to raise the price, $55,000 for one time. Unfortunately, someone didn't want him to continue bidding. $70,000. Jackie Chow raised the price by more than 10,000 at once. After all, this is not a real auction house, as long as it is not something that others like very much, or the donor's own items, there will rarely be desperate bidding. After all, everyone is doing it for charity. The auctioneer deliberately looked at Jay Chow and smiled at him, and then said, $70,000 once, $70,000 twice, $70,000  3 times. The deal is done. The auctioneer smiled and said, congratulations to this gentleman. This meteorite belongs to him. Congratulations, honey, Nikki said to Jay Chow after kissing him. But when she was about to say something, she was kissed by Jay Chow, and she was blocked from saying anything. Thank you, baby. The two kissed, which is a very normal thing in the United States. At this time, the people around also looked over here. This price was a little high tonight. And Jobs, one of the organizers of this time, raised his glass to Jay Chow and drank from him from a distance. Although there were no products worth over $1 million this time, the quantity was quite high. There were quite a few small items worth 70,000 or 80,000 yuan. Jay Chow estimated that the auction had already raised more than 5 million yuan. Following the gazes of the crowd, Paris Hilton saw Nikki, who was right next to Jay Chow. Because she came late, Paris Hilton did not see Nikki when she came in. Later, Nikki followed Jay Chow into the gauze tent, and Paris could not see her. When they came out, she followed someone else into another gauze tent to chat. Humph, Nikki told me she was going on vacation, but I didn't expect she was still with him, enjoying a world of two. She just abandoned me like that, and I was so nice to her before. Paris felt a little bit like her beloved toy was taken away by someone. Her sister had been with her since she was little, and although they both had their own lives as they grew up, Nikki also liked to follow her sister. But now she had been rejected directly, and she had secretly gone to date that man. She remembered the oriental man next to Nikki, the one at the underwear party last time. Jay Chou's muscular body left a lot of impressions on her, and his handsome appearance, that conformed to the aesthetic standards of the East and the West, made her a little fascinated. But this person was not the type to live in the spotlight, which was a bit out of place for her. Her favorite thing was to see herself on the front page when she watched the news in the morning, and when she walked out, paparazzi would follow her, flashing lights behind her. When passers-by saw her, they would exclaim, "Wow, this is Paris Hilton. Oh my god, I saw her, I actually saw her." Or be more subtle and ask for her autograph, shake her hand, etc. She likes the gaze and attention of others in life, and she enjoys the feeling. So she looks for some celebrities or sports stars to gain attention for herself in various aspects, whether it is a singer, a movie star, or a sports star. She has expanded in many ways and won a lot of attention. When Paris was looking at him, Jay Chou found that someone seemed to be looking at him from behind. And it has been a while. He couldn't help but look in that direction. "Isn't this my cheap sister-in-law Paris Hilton? She came here too." Then he said to Nikki, who was still looking at the auction items, "Nikki, I seem to have seen your sister Paris." "Paris? Did you see her?" "Well, look, in that direction." Jay Chou pointed to where Paris was. "Look, right there. She's still staring at us. But baby, why do I feel that her eyes are a little weird? Does she like to scrutinize which man her sister is dating?" "Oh, no, I'm an adult. I don't need anyone to teach me what to do. It's just that I was going on vacation, and Paris happened to invite me to this auction. But I didn't want to go, so I said I would go on vacation right away. Who knew that I would end up here with you, and you would happen to be attending this event? I didn't expect that we would be attending the same event." Nikki said somewhat helplessly, "Okay, baby, it's my fault. I'm so sorry." "No, it has nothing to do with you. I will explain to Paris later," Nikki said to him. After she finished speaking, she looked in the direction of her sister and made a gesture to her. Jay Chou couldn't understand what it meant. It might be the Morse code or some secret language between the two sisters. It was just like the secret language and gestures between himself and his sisters. The next auction went smoothly, and everyone paid to buy some. The auction was about to end soon. Then it was time to report the proceeds of the auction. Jay Chou himself had already written a check, which was collected by the waiters just now. Just give him the good cards of his things. When you leave later, you can use this to take the things away directly. It was still the handsome old man just now. He was gone for less than 2 minutes, and then he walked up to the stage with a happy face. "I'm honored to announce that we have raised the money for this charity auction." When he said this, the drum beats of the band backstage sounded and began to create a tense atmosphere. The drum beats of dong 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 seemed to be getting faster and faster. "We raised $9.56 million in charity. I want to say here that you are the best." Chapter 308 end. P.S. It's been a bit hard to write this kind of article recently. Now I'm going to return to the content of the farm. The charity auction is over, but the cocktail party in the venue has not yet started. Zhou was going to talk to Paris with Nikki first, but Helen said that Jobs had to go back first, so she said one last word to him and left. But Zhou guessed the reason. This guy obviously came out to participate in the event before he recovered from his illness. But his illness is impossible to be cured, so this is just a delay. After Zhou agreed to join the board of directors, Jobs talked about this matter with several close shareholders. Now that the key person has agreed, it can be filed in the company. As long as the next board of directors passes this proposal, Zhou can get the power of attorney. Jobs also understood that he didn't want to do something too troublesome, which was better for him. If a non-executive director enters the review committee, then this organization that controls itself can be more lenient to him, but he doesn't know if he can trust Zhou. If he goes in, and he is not on the same page with me, and is being lured by another group of people, wouldn't that be like shooting himself in the foot? Although it will have some impact on him, if he wants to pass a resolution, no matter how many objections there are, he will find a way to turn them into support. But he doesn't like to waste time, especially now that his health is getting worse. Zhou chatted with Jobs casually for a few more words, saying that he understood that time is not a problem, but don't take too long. Then he chatted with the group of people from the Chinese American Federation who came over again, and of course he also expressed his support for them. Of course, he also chatted with the local councilors in San Francisco and California, and also chatted with the current mayor of San Francisco and other local powerful figures. In fact, Zhou's hospitality to some people was not very comprehensive, but fortunately there was Nikki next to him, and she thought about the problem much more comprehensively than Zhou. So to say, he is also a person with higher education, plus the influence of the family atmosphere. In this aspect, he was far inferior to them. I didn't expect that besides touching Bainu in bed, it would be so useful at the cocktail party. I have found a treasure. Then came the group of young Chinese, and the people from China. These people were not really young, most of them were almost 30 or over 30. And those who came here were all cooperating with companies in the United States, and they attended this event as company representatives. They were all the people who helped the little princes and princesses, in short, the second generation of rich and the second generation of officials. They were all arrogant, but fortunately they knew that this was not China, so there were no idiots who thought they were great just because they had a good father. They also acted as if they were very humble here, fully promoting the virtues of China. Why don't you see this guy in China? Zhou secretly complained, and he also knew that he was using a single point to represent the whole, which was unfair to others. But in the previous life, the internet was full of the great achievements of this group of people, which was almost a model of negative teaching materials. Jess, why do I think you have some prejudice against them? Li and Wang are all very good people. Huang Darling said with doubt. No, I don't have any intersection with them. How can I have any prejudice? Then you don't have that. It's just. Huang Darling said, it was a bit difficult to express, and after gesturing with his hands, he said, it's not as enthusiastic as the last time we met. I always feel like something is missing. Hey, my friend, maybe our meeting is the guidance of God. Although I don't believe in him, it doesn't prevent him from bringing me a friend. You can't ask everyone to be like you, and God doesn't help me find friends all the time, right? Zhou said humorously. Okay, maybe you are right, although I don't believe in God either. But we are really good friends now, right? Huang Darling thought about it and said, poking Zhou's shoulder. Hey, if I didn't know that your views on love are all normal, I would be very entangled that my friend got involved with a man. Zhang Xiangli walked over and said when she saw the two of them like this, I didn't realize you were still the type who liked to joke around. Zhou said to the woman, I have many sides, but you just don't know them. I believe you will understand them in the future. Zhang Xiangli said. Of course, are we friends? Haha, maybe, as long as you don't have any prejudice against me. I just heard Darling say it, so, you know, what we Chinese people emphasize is to treat friends as gently as the spring breeze, treating enemies as cold as the winter. I have also lived in China for a long time. I just know these. Zhou continued her words. As soon as he finished speaking, the atmosphere suddenly felt a little cold. Haha. Just kidding. Haven't we been friends for a long time? My friend's friend is also my friend. He said it in Chinese. Really? Huang Darling hit Zhou. Zhang Xiangli was also embarrassed for a while, but she didn't care about his joke. But did she really not care? Nikki, you're going too far. Didn't you tell me you didn't want to go out and wanted to go on vacation? Why are you here now? Are you kidding me? Paris said to Nikki in a low voice. Nikki was also a little embarrassed. I'm sorry, I originally wanted to come to San Francisco, stay here for a few days, and then find a place to go on vacation, but Jess was also invited this time, so he wanted me to come with him. She looked at her sister a little pitifully. I'm sorry, Paris, I'll let you pick one of my treasured bags, how about that? Paris glanced at her. Okay, that's what you said. Don't regret it when the time comes. No, pick anyone you want. Nikki said quickly. Paris was chatting with Nikki, but in fact, her eyes also looked at Zhou for a while. Recently, she just ended her relationship with nightclub tycoon cultivates and is still single. In fact, sometimes she looks at Zhou and thinks this man is good, but it's a pity that he is not her cup of tea. It should be said that he is not my cup of tea. Zhou and Nikki returned to the hotel and left. He was now free from worries. On the way back, he thought about life for a while, but now was obviously not the time to think. A beautiful woman was right in front of him, lifting up her elegant evening dress, revealing her white thigh skin, and her black lace pants were looming. A man would not think about life anymore. Creating life was the most important thing. Jess, honey. Nikki teased and called Zhou. So there was another asterisk. Chapter 309. Flowers bloom when they see us. Nikki was driving a sports car on Highway 49, with tenors country music playing in the car. This was a two-seater sports car, and Zhou was sitting in the car with his glasses raised, and taking a selfie. Facing the wind, he picked up the apple, and took a photo of himself, and then another one. He became more handsome in the photo. Sure enough, it's a handsome face. Can I be considered as a face that everyone loves? Flowers bloom when they see me, and cars bloom when they see me. Zhou seemed to think for a while. Haha. I can't do the other two, but I can do flowers bloom when they see me. Honey, what are you thinking about so happily? Nikki asked. Some happy memories, baby, one of them is you. Zhou went over and kissed her. Nikki also smiled and happily accepted his kiss. Thinking of the magic of space and the power of the goblins, he found that flowers bloom when they see him was actually not a difficult thing. When the time comes, he will transform a flower so that the flower will bloom as long as it smells his scent. It seems that flowers have a sense of taste. Zhou thought about it for a while and felt that it was a bit unreasonable, so he changed his mind. Well, let's change it to I exhale, and then the flowers bloom. This is possible. His breath is the switch code. The flowers received the gaseous saliva in his breath, which is equivalent to DNA. After he thought of this possibility, he couldn't help but become narcissistic. Am I really a genius? Damn, when the time comes, I will customize this kind of flower, and everyone will use their own breath to verify it. One person sees a kind of flower, exhales to them, and then they will bloom. This is really a good idea. Zhou became more and more excited as he thought about it. Imagine someone planted this kind of flower, got up in the morning, and exhaled to the flower, or exhaled a breath, and then all the flowers bloomed in front of him. At the beginning of the day, they bloomed in front of you, which can definitely make your mood bright all day. Besides, this kind of flower that blooms only for you, everyone feels happy. People are selfish, always wanting to have their own personal belongings, belonging only to her or him. And isn't this flower? How close to me this feeling? Just like Zhou thought, flowers bloom when they see it. This kind of flowers can also be used as gifts between lovers, as long as you are willing to spend money to find yourself to customize it. When giving it to a woman, it means I bloom only for you. How wonderful it is. Think about how many flowers are sold every year now. It is almost a market of hundreds of billions. As long as I can get a piece of meat from it, it will be a big profit. I will make several versions of the world at that time. One is planted in the garden, and the other is flowers that can bloom even after being picked. This kind of flowers will be sold in the flower market, and the price will be very high, so that those men and women will feel that it is out of date if they don't use this to express their love or propose marriage. Oh my god, is this the feeling of changing the world? I'm a little excited. Zhou touched Zhou's heart and felt it beating fast. He is now completely hot. I want to achieve it. Suddenly I feel that my goal is so clear. Honey, what are you thinking about? Why are you silent? Nikki looked at Zhou next to her and asked curiously. Oh, nothing. I just thought of something. I suddenly realized that I seem to have a goal recently. Zhou said easily. He didn't tell Nikki what he was thinking. He didn't know how to say it. It was a bit unrealistic for him to come up with this now. It's better to wait until he goes to school. By then, as long as he enters school and passes the postgraduate examination, all the previous knowledge can be said to be self-taught. If he releases any products in the future, it will be scientific and normal. It seems that I have to hurry up, but which school should I go to? The closest schools in California are Stanford and Berkeley. Both are famous schools. I can go to either one, but it seems that Stanford's history is more famous, and their biological laboratory is also very famous. It will be easier to explain everything after I go there. Maybe if I can get this flower, I can get a doctorate degree. Not to mention the long-haired grass, which is also a very good project, but I can't get it because of my own reasons. I'm really entangled. In the future, with the advantage of space, I may be able to continuously come up with improved versions of plants, and then build a research laboratory. No matter what results I produce, it will not arouse suspicion, and I may become a world-renowned biologist and botanist. Damn, this bitch is going to turn over and sing to the end. I'm asking for death. Haha. I think J.C. Chow, will be called Dr. Chow one day. Jess, what are you talking about? I didn't hear it clearly, but who is Dr. Chow? Nikki looked at J.C. Chow today and felt that he was a little neurotic. A person was changing his expression over there and muttered something for a while, but who is that Dr. Chow? He seems to care a lot. J.C. Chow looked at her and shouted to the wind, I think that might be me. Nikki, you know, I want to take the postgraduate entrance examination, and I will become a doctor in the future. I'm Dr. Chow. What? Nikki was a little speechless. What was going on? He actually told me that he wanted to go to school, take the postgraduate entrance examination, and then become a doctor? Honey, what's wrong with you? You suddenly thought of this? Nikki, I have already learned a lot of knowledge by myself, and now I just want to enter the school systematically to verify it. I used to think that those academic certificates were useless. Even without them, I would be very successful. My friend Mark Zuckerberg is the same. He dropped out of school, and he is still successful now. But now I want to learn something again. There must be a reason why humans founded schools. What do you think of my idea, baby? Nikki didn't expect that what he said was true. It seemed that he really wanted to go to school. Looking at Zhou face, he suddenly remembered that the man in front of him was actually a boy. He was the same age as those who were still in college. What's more, he was going to take the postgraduate entrance examination. It was normal for him to go to college. Of course, Jess, this is a good idea. As long as you have thought it through, I support your decision. Nikki said in agreement. Thank you, baby. You are such a considerate girl. Jackie Zhou said gently. Driving in the wind, the car was approaching the farm. Nikki was going on vacation this time, but after fooling around with Jay Chow in San Francisco for 2 days, she didn't want to go on vacation abroad. After hearing that Jay Chow was going back to the farm, she wanted to follow him and treat it as a vacation on his farm. It is also a very good feeling to be on vacation in the countryside. She asked Jay Chow for his opinion, hoping that she would not disturb him. Jay Chow thought about it and felt it was not bad. Anyway, there were only the nanny, the old lady, and others in the family, and of course a little girl, Cheyenne. The old lady has lived in the United States for quite a long time. She used to be a mercenary instructor and later changed to a bodyguard instructor. I believe she will not have any aversion to this kind of cohabitation. It shouldn't be. Sometimes the lower body will affect the thinking of the upper body, and Zhou Jixi is in this situation now. Although he likes the life on the farm, he feels that it is less fun without a woman to sleep with. He can't go to find a call girl in front of the old lady, so it would be better to go back and live with the girl for a few days. With this thought, he agreed to Nikki's proposal and asked her to go back to his farm with him. The car passed through the outskirts of the farm and arrived at the gate of the farm after driving for a while. Wow, Sky Farm. Jess's gate is so cool. Nikki looked at the gate. The patterns on the stone were carved very delicately, and the magnificent appearance was really eye-catching. Of course, this gate has a history of more than 10 years. At that time, I worked for a long time just for it. Jackie Zhou repeated what Atwood had said to him, as if he had experienced that period of time and understood it very well. God knows he has only been here for a short time. What does the past have to do with him? The two of them chatted and laughed as they drove in through the gate. Nikki looked at the endless grassland and couldn't help being surprised. When she was driving just now, she noticed that they had arrived at the farm, but now it seemed that it was still on the outskirts. She only saw the gate when she came in. How big is this farm? She couldn't help but wonder. But after driving for a while, she saw the villa again, and in the distance of the villa was a big lake. Even next to the villa, water was drawn from the lake and an artificial lake was transformed. Part of the villa was built on it. I believe it would be a great thing to look out from the house. This farm has an area of more than 1,100 square kilometers, including grasslands, forests, lakes, swamps, streams, and that big river, and an inner lake. I also own half of the lake downstream. If the state government hadn't refused to sell the other half, almost everything here would belong to me. Zhou saw Nikki's doubts and started to introduce it to him. He spoke confidently and contagiously. Nikki could hear the pride and joy in his words. It seems that he likes it here very much. There are only a few large farms in California, one or two of which are bigger than mine, but they definitely don't have as many water rights as I do. Chapter 310 back. The car drove to the door of the villa, but Nikki was still surprised. The man in front of her gave her too much shock. He had such a big farm and was invited by Steve Jobs to join the Apple board of directors. During the few days in San Francisco, Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg also proposed to invite Jay Chou to join the Facebook board of directors. Is this still a man in his 20s? Although he is not the richest young man, he is the man closest to her. Speaking of which, she is not short of money. The current property is enough for her to spend. There are also a lot of dividends in the family every year, so she didn't look at Jay Chou's money, but it didn't prevent money from making him more attractive. Wow. Grandma, uncle is back. Xianshan, who was playing by the door and window, saw the red car outside, and then saw his uncle sitting on it and walking down. After the little girl shouted, she ran out with her little feet. Sayan, who was with her, didn't care about the grapes in his hand and ran out. They were not the only animals that sprang up at the news. Fortunately, they didn't know where 1K had gone crazy today, so they didn't come out to greet their owner with a woof woof. When the thumb monkeys on the beams saw the big fool running out, they thought something good must have happened. I have been hanging out with Saya for a while recently, and I know this big fool's ability to find food very well. At this time, the giant tortoise in the backyard also found Zhou, raised its neck, and raised its front legs, roared at Zhou, and ran towards him at a speed it thought was very fast. In fact, after Zhou picked up Xianshan and helped Nikki take down the luggage, the giant tortoise came to his side. Nikki also got out of the car, and just after getting off, she saw the group of join Zhou's house. Honey, is this the thumb monkey I gave you when you bought the giant tortoise last time? Nikki pointed at the thumb monkeys that had jumped onto Saya and grabbed his hair to prevent him from falling off. Yes, with these little guys, there are no insects in the house now. Zhou replied with a smile. He picked up Xianshan who was running over and jumping in tacit understanding and waved on her rosy face. Xianshan, do you miss your uncle? The little girl squinted her eyes like crescents and shouted loudly with her mouth. Yes, Xianshan misses uncle every day. Zhou was happy to hear it and waved. Well, it turns out that uncle loves Xianshan well. Look at what gift uncle bought for you this time. Zhou said and carried her to the back of the sports car. Although it was a two-seater, there was still a lot of space in the back, and there was a large huggable plush toy he sold in Walmart. Wow. What a big doll. It's bigger than Xianshan. This time, the little girl covered her mouth with her hands and screamed like a lady, but it was disfigured again in a moment. He gave Zhou's face several times. Thank you, uncle. I love you so much. Uncle, I will definitely help you rub your back next time. I will be filial to you when I grow up. Zhou laughed dryly. The girl was just talking. Before long, she hadn't rubbed twice, and she said her hands were sore. She looked at him pitifully. But it wasn't over yet. If the work was not finished, she would often have to be rewarded. Well, it's really uncle's good, sweetie. Follow uncle from now on. Uncle will buy you dolls every day. No, mom said that sweetie will always belong to mom. You can't be defeated by the enemy's sugar-coated bullets. Although Xianxin said this with a smile, Zhao Jixi felt as if there was a second sister watching him from behind. How can you teach a little friend like this? You don't even know what a sugar-coated bullet is. You're still defeated. Nikki didn't have any little friends to hold her at this time, so Saiyan, the gorilla, became a favorite. At this time, he was enjoying Nikki's gentle touch in her arms. When he touched the itchy spot, he happily cackled twice. And now the thumb monkey Liu and Zhou Wukong, who are parasitic on him, are eating the small preserved fruits that Nikki gave them. Jess, it's really great here. No wonder you like living on the farm. You are really a guy who knows how to enjoy life, Nikki said to Zhao Jixi happily while holding Saiyan. Zhao Jixi was still teasing the little girl at this time. Hearing Nikki's words, he said, of course, life here is really pleasant. I believe you will have a good memory here during this holiday. Nikki kissed Zhao Jixi. I think so too. I'm looking forward to it now. Then after she finished speaking, she looked at Xianxin, who was staring at them. Beautiful girl, can I know your name? Although Nikki spoke English, she already knew how to ask questions like this. These dozens of days here were not in vain. The potential of children is extremely huge. As for language ability, in this environment full of English, Xianxin can talk to people by guessing and guessing. Hello, you can call me Xianxin. When talking about Xianxin, the little girl used Mandarin. Oh. Nikki looked at Zhao Jixi with a questioning look on her face. It means very sweet. She uses a Chinese pronunciation. You can just call her like this in the future. Nikki understood at once that it meant very sweet, but when she looked at the little girl again, she really made people feel that she was a sweet girl. Hello Xianxin, I'm your uncle's friend. You can call me Aunt Nikki or Nikki. The few of them chatted for a while and didn't play with the little animals for a while. At this time, the old lady in the house also came out. Zhao Jixi hurried over to say hello, and the old lady smiled and said that she would be fine when she came back. Then he introduced Nikki to her. On the way here, he told Nikki that everyone must respect the old lady very much. She was like his godfather. Nikki of course remembered this. Fortunately, the old lady didn't say much and still looked kind. She smiled and said a few words to Nikki, which made Nikki's eyes sparkle. Of course, the things that can make women very interested are things related to beauty and health. The old lady looked at Nikki and knew that she was a little overworked a few days ago. Then she started from traditional Chinese medicine, combined with scientific evidence, and explained it according to Western medicine. Nikki immediately believed what Jay Chou had said before, that his master was a very powerful person. Now it seemed to be true. She couldn't help but become interested in the ingredients that the old lady mentioned. Chapter 311. Okay. With guests at home, Zhao Jixi could no longer be like before. He could no longer enter the space after returning to his room at night. However, compared to entering the space, doing things with his wife was obviously a more enjoyable thing. With Nikki, he no longer had to be like a bachelor, focusing on martial arts and memorizing books every day. Nikki's first night in the villa was obviously good. The old lady personally cooked several Chinese and Western dishes. All the vegetables used were grown in her own farm. Now the vegetables here have not only been watered with space water, but also Zhao Jixi has blessed the earth several times underground. The land is quite fertile. The vegetables produced by Zhao Jixi not only have a good growth, but also taste very delicious. However, they are a bit attractive to insects. Those little bugs also know what is delicious and what is not. I wanted to use pesticides, but he stopped me. He wanted to eat pollution-free vegetables, not the kind that have to be used with pesticides. Fortunately, in modern society, if you have money, you can get what you want. At Atwood's suggestion, Zhao Jixi bought some insect-killing lamps and puts them in each plot of land. This machine is said to work based on the principles of light attraction, wave attraction, color attraction, sexual attraction, and group flight. The wide spectrum lamp attracts insects with a wide wavelength and multiple peaks, attracting more pests. There is also a rainproof high voltage electric shock net, which will not short circuit in the rain, and the electrical components are well protected. It does not need to be cleaned by people. It can automatically clean the stuck insect corpses at regular intervals. To keep the equipment in good working condition, the most important stainless steel electric shock wire is the kind that will not rust. Obviously, this is definitely a good thing for lazy Zhou. Without thinking about it, he must have bought it. Although it costs a lot of money, Zhou thought it was a long-term investment at the time, and he could save vegetables without using pesticides. There is no pesticide residue and pollution in crops, no pollution, and green and environmentally friendly crops are beneficial to the health of humans and animals. In this way, the insects all fly towards those lights, but to be honest, the effect is not satisfactory to Zhou. At that time, he turned his eyes wide open. Don't you like to eat vegetables with space benefits? I'll let you fly into the fire. Thinking of this, he taught the little goblins in the space to make a plant with a strong smell. After drying, the plant with a stronger smell was put into the power grid. Now Zhou's vegetable garden suddenly became quiet. The little bugs were desperate to smell the smell and pounce on it. Almost as long as the bugs reached the range of the vegetable garden, they would fly over. The problem of insects was solved in an instant. At night, Zhou and Nikki had a good time again. Fortunately, the sound insulation of this house is not exaggerated. As long as the door is closed, the sound of shaking the bed and other sounds cannot be heard downstairs, not to mention Nikki's screams. At night, Nikki was still thinking about not screaming too loudly. After all, it was her first time to visit Zhou's house. When he conquered all the way, Nikki was twitching and covering her mouth. She insisted not to scream too loudly, but Zhou jokingly told her that the sound insulation of this house is very good. As long as the doors and windows are closed, no one will be able to hear her screams. Seeing his look, Nikki turned over and rode in a horse riding position, putting Zhou under him and enjoying the feeling of woman on top and man on bottom. He was also happy to save energy, so he let Nikki go crazy. No matter which action we did, it seemed that I was the one who took advantage. That morning, in order not to let the old lady see that he neglected his practice for the sake of a woman, Zhou still got up according to the previous rhythm of getting up. He kissed Nikki, who was awakened by his action. Baby, I need to exercise. You sleep for a while. It's not time for you to go to work yet. Nikki opened her confused eyes, and finally the desire for sleep overcame the desire to get up. Besides, Zhou was crazy until 2 AM yesterday, and now he is very sleepy. Nikki grabbed his face and kissed him. Well, honey, I'm going to sleep for a while. Call me when it's time for breakfast. Okay, my princess. Zhou walked out after saying that. His relationship with you is actually a bit complicated. He doesn't think it's boyfriend or girlfriend, but it's even less likely to be not. Hey, what is this called? Is it a woman without a boyfriend, following a man without a girlfriend, and the two of them are together like this? Thinking about the problem did not stop him. Zhou was already familiar with the geographical location of the house, so he walked to the practice room in a daze. However, he did not see the old lady inside. After thinking about it, he knew that the old lady should go outside. After going out, she was there. There were green grass and trees, and a path paved with stones. The old lady was stepping on the grass facing the morning sun, doing a slow boxing that was said to be Yang style Taikai. To be honest, although this boxing style is called Taijiquan, it is still quite famous and is mentioned many times in novels. However, Zhou really doesn't like its slow appearance. It is not as domineering as the Bajiquan and Zingaiquan he is practicing now. When he performs it, he looks like a tiger with a strong wind. Every move and every style uses great strength, and the muscles and bones are creaking, just like in the TV series. Of course, this movement is still, and the fighting is beautiful, but the stance still needs to be stood. Zhou is practicing the Zinai Santishi taught by the old lady. Compared with the Zingai Santishi, the old lady said that this Zinai is better and more suitable for him. Zhou doesn't care. Anyway, the master said that it is suitable for him, so he practices that one. It is originally used to strengthen the body. Although he also has a dream of being a knight. When he goes out on the road, to be a hero to save the beauty, or draw a sword to help. That is a bit unrealistic. It is said that most criminals in the United States must carry guns, not to mention whether you will be dangerous if you go up. There are many patrolmen on the road in the United States, and they are all armed. If this happens, you might as well call them. They will arrive at the scene quickly. This is a treatment that only leaders and their sons can enjoy in China. So you can go when it is really urgent, but forget it at other times. After all, Zhou Jixi is a billionaire. Although he can't die with space and firearms, once the space is used, his secret will be exposed. The cost and risk of saving people are really high. People also say that the son of a rich man should not sit in the hall, which is really unnecessary. I won't continue the small talk. When the old lady saw Zhou Jixi's point, she couldn't help but nodded with satisfaction. Whether it is said that he got up specially to show her, or he just wanted to get up to exercise, it doesn't matter. As long as he comes, it proves that Zhou Jixi is a caring person. Master. He hurried to say hello. The old lady responded and continued to punch according to her steps. If you practice boxing 1,000 times, the meaning will become clear. This is what she often said to Zhou Jixi, and he did what the old lady said, working overtime in the space every day. For a while, the two of them didn't speak. Zhou Jixi found a place a little distance away from the old lady, took a deep breath, and then started to practice. After the exercise, breakfast at home was prepared for the nannies. Because Nikki was there, she made Western-style bread, milk, fried eggs, etc. However, millet porridge was also cooked, and there were also many Chinese-style cakes on the table. Anyway, there is no need to worry about not being able to finish it. With Zhou Jixi, there will be basically no leftover food. Wow, Mary, you can actually make such a great Chinese breakfast, and these look great. It's a blessing to have you around. Zhou Jixi came in and saw the food on the table and said to the nanny Mary, who was adding food to the table. Mary smiled when she heard this. Thank you for your compliment. These are all taught to us by Ms. Yang. She is really a master of cooking. She can tell a little bit about the dishes of any country or ethnic group, and can also cook the specialties of many countries. It is my luck to learn cooking skills by working here with you. Oh, old lady. Zhou Jixi understood at this time. This old lady is really a strange person. She knows a lot of things. She is worthy of having so much life experience. After calling Nikki down for breakfast, the old lady and Mizi also called Xianshan up. Several people sat at the table. Nikki praised first. These foods look very appetizing, and they taste great. I want to eat more. After that, she said pitifully, it seems that my recent weight loss plan is going to fail. It's okay, eat more if you like. When the time comes, you just need to exercise more, and you can consume today's calories. Don't worry about getting fat. Zhou Jixi comforted Nikki, and also found a way for her to eat. Well, this is millet porridge. Mary cooked it very well. Would you like to have some? Yeah. Nikki has now transformed into Zhou Jixi. The food on the table tastes really great. She couldn't help but eat a lot more, and she responded to Zhou Jixi's words. Zhou Jixi came back at the right time. It was the second day after he came back. Little 8, who helped him with the greenhouse, came over. He said that the 2 greenhouses would be delivered to him soon. Usually, he would report the progress to the old lady, but the strange thing today was that he didn't see the old lady. So he looked not far away, so he came over to report to the old lady, but he didn't expect to run into Zhou Jixi. Chapter 312 Big Duck Little Duck. Zhou 8 moved quickly. His engineering team was short of manpower, so he was determined to recruit a lot of old MOs, that is, Mexicans and South Americans. This kind of people can endure hardships and do not object to overtime. There is no union to bother him and talk about some unimportant issues and rights protection. So the construction of the 2 greenhouses was divided. The small one was done by his original engineering team, and the large one was done by South Americans and Mexicans. With the efforts of both sides, the progress of this project can be imagined. In addition, the assembly steps are mostly modular. Except for some special parts required by Zhou Jixi and the old lady, the others are all produced by the manufacturer and do not need to be rushed. Just pull a car over and install it directly. In the morning, Zhou Jixi, the old lady and Nikki, who was still hungry, sat on the small dock with fishing rods and hung fish. 2 platypuses were lying in the sunny position next to them. Compared with when they were bought, they are now much fatter. During this period, they had good food and drinks. They ate small shrimps and silverfish caught from the lake, as well as some other insects and meat strips. This made them grow a lot faster, and now their hair has grown out. They are no longer fluffy like what Zhao just saw. Now they have short hair, which feels very smooth and easy to touch. After a few more molds, he wanted to put it on his neck. It would be a great thing to make it into a scarf. Sometimes Zhao couldn't help but think about the two platypuses in his home. The little guy still looked lazy, and from time to time he would use his duck mouth to nudge his brothers. They were originally nocturnal creatures. I don't know if it was because they drank the space water or the old lady helped them adjust the time difference. In addition, they live around the villa, and there are no natural enemies, so there will be no danger. So they don't need to go out at night and go back to sleep in the morning. When they are tired from playing, they just fall asleep. When they fall asleep, they like to swing their feet. Now Zhou thinks that the two are called Big Duck and Little Duck. These names are not only easy to remember, but also easy to pronounce in English. Nikki holds a fishing rod in her hand and looks at the little animals playing with interest. Jess, they grow up so fast. I still remember that when I first saw them, their skin was all wrinkled. Thinking of those cute little ones, time is really a magical magic. When she said this, she seemed a little disappointed. I don't know if she was lamenting that she had lost a lot of time or thinking that she was much older than Zhou. Time can sometimes make women feel sad. He adjusted his position, looked at Nikki, and smiled while holding her hand. Dear, are you lamenting the passage of time now? I think the goddess of time has lost her influence on you. Look at you, my Nikki, you are still so charming and so likable. Zhao spoke sweet words to Nikki carefully. He is getting more and more familiar with this process now, and he is no longer stuck in that pitiful theory like in his previous life. We can now say with certainty that practice can produce truth. This is right. Women like to hear this, and Nikki also feels very happy when she hears it. Thank you, Jessie. I'm not as fragile as you think. She kissed Zhao as she said this. The old lady next to her looked at the two young people and smiled and shook her head. When you are young, you are happy. You don't need to think too much or consider what will happen in the future. Cherish what you have now and live a good life for the day. These are almost the thoughts of lovers, especially in the open society of the West. Big Duck, come here. Zhao shouted to the platypus who was still lying down. The little guy's head moved slightly, and he saw Zhao when he opened his eyes. The slightly squinting eyes also noticed the food in his hand, and the nose twitched slightly. Then the eyes lit up, but just when it was about to start running, the duckling stopped, and its nose also smelled the fragrance, or the smell of the impressive space shrimp. The little eyes also looked at the big duck who was still sniffing, and the corners of the eyes seemed to light up. Taking advantage of the big brother's unpreparedness, it immediately got up, stepped on the big brother's body, and quickly crawled in Zhao direction. The three of them saw this funny scene, and couldn't help laughing. Nikki was also stunned, and Zhao felt a little embarrassed. How could he raise such a clever foodie? The little duck just likes to bully his brother, but this little thing reacts faster than the big duck. Nothing good happens soon, and it can almost run to the front. The old lady smiled and said with a little doting, this little thing is really cunning, but there is a reason why it can grow fat like a big duck. But it can run faster than the big duck, even if it is so fat. It is also a wonderful platypus. Zhao said, and threw the shrimp with the water of vitality up. The duckling jumped up quickly and ate it all in its mouth. The duckling looked back first, and then did not rush to bite it. It hid in its cheeks first, and ran towards the old lady. The old lady picked it up, and sat in her arms. At this time, the big duck reacted, called to the duckling, and ran to Zhao feet to entangle him. Nikki was stunned for a moment, and then laughed. Wow, what a smart little duck. After that, he looked at the big duck under Zhao feet again. Oh, poor little baby, come to mommy, I will help you get food again, okay. Then he picked up the big duck. The smooth hair really feels good, and Nikki held it and put it in her arms. The little guy seems to be slow to react, but he has been through this routine many times. He knows that only the platypus that cry can get food, and the more it cries, the more food it can get. After a few times, it feels that it doesn't matter whether it's fast or slow. Although it can't get the first bite, it eats more. Now it's like a wrong child, and it still cried sadly several times. The duckling felt safe in the old lady's arms, and then it began to eat the shrimp in its mouth. The old lady holding it laughed and patted its little butt, but in return, the duckling cried comfortably, just like it was a little stuck when eating, and it cried comfortably after being patted a few times. This little thing, it's almost become a spirit. Jess, hurry up and get some shrimps for this little baby. Look how pitiful it is now. Nikki said and kissed the wrong big duck. But obviously it didn't want this, and it was still aggrieved. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 313 Good News. Zhou was speechless after hearing this. Isn't this the same routine we used in bed? Holding his little baby, he said to it, poor little baby, let mommy love you. Then our lovely little Jixie can return to a warm embrace. When several people were staying by the small lake in the house, little 8 was walking towards the villa. Today he happened to report the progress to the old lady. The small one was ready for delivery and use, but it would take some time for Zhou's big one to be completed, because he had more requirements and the interior design was much more troublesome than the old lady's. 1K barked when 8 came over, but it was not very fierce. Recently, it had become familiar with 8. Usually, the old lady would see little 8 when she took them for a walk or inspected the work. Little 8 smiled and touched the top of 1K's head. Hey, boy, you look great today. You must have eaten something good again. After saying hello to 1K, the nanny in the house saw him and said, Mr. Rat, Ms. Yang is fishing in the back now. Oh. Okay, thank you Mary. You look beautiful today, and the earrings are beautiful. Little 8 said to Mary. Mary couldn't help but be happy when she heard the exaggeration. Although she knew that this person liked to say such nonsense, it was always nice to hear praise. 8 walked in and turned a corner to the pony head of Zhou's house, but he saw not one person, but 3 people. In addition to Ms. Yang, there was another Zhou he knew, but he didn't know who the young woman was. Hey, look who's here. Nice to see you. 8. Zhou said, and he stood up and walked over, giving 8 a hug. Tell me, man, are you going to tell me some good news? Zhou said, and he saw that little 8 wanted to say something. Wait, let me guess. If our greenhouse has been built. Little 8 smiled bitterly and said to Zhou, sorry, Mr. Zhou, you guessed the beginning, but not the end. Oh. Zhou was surprised for a moment and then said, okay. Let's not talk about this for now. Come and have a drink first. What do you want to drink? Zhou said and walked to the small refrigerator next to him. Beer will be fine. 8 said. In fact, you only have beer. What else can 8 say? Okay. After Zhou finished speaking, he picked up a bottle and threw it to him. Fortunately, 8 stretched out his hand well, and Zhou's aim was very good, so it didn't fall. Master, 8 is here. Let's sit down and chat for a while. Well, I'll come right over. The old lady responded and walked over from the other side. Hello, Mr. 8. Hello, Ms. Yang. 8 didn't dare to joke around with the old lady who seemed a little serious, showing how strong his sense of humor was. Recently, he saw someone who delivered seeds saying that Ms. Yang was his instructor. God knows, he saw the 2 muscular men with huge bodies and said that Ms. Yang, who looked very elegant, was the instructor of this group of people with muscles in their brains. The 2 also talked about how badly they had been taught a lesson by the instructor before, and the feeling of powerlessness after being beaten again and again. 8 felt that it was not that he was crazy, but that the 2 people in front of him had a problem with their nerves. If it weren't for the fact that he was just a little arm and leg compared to them, 8 would definitely send them to the mental hospital in person. But later, many people came, and they were all muscular men, and most of them were very respectful to Ms. Yang. Some of them were employees of the mercenary department and the bodyguard department of Blackwater Company. He gradually believed what the two said, but after believing it, what he thought in his mind was, will it be like in the movie, a mysterious killer, a powerful government agent or a mysterious kung fu master? What he didn't know was that he actually guessed one of them correctly, and the others were somewhat close, but they didn't work for the government, but for private enterprises. Originally, several people were chatting, and Nikki thought it was not good to stay next to them, so she didn't plan to come over, but Zhou Jixi felt that they couldn't chat for long, and it seemed lonely to leave a woman alone there. In fact, how could this be possible? Even if she was playing in the mud, it would be better than chatting with your men. It's not just her business. That's boring. It was not his somewhat sultry heart that wanted to show off to 8. Look, did you see this? This is my girlfriend, Nikki Hilton. How did you meet her? You are envious. I'm a wicked local tyrant. Let me tell you, this will only bring me happiness. What do you mean you don't know her? You are a country bumpkin? Damn, go back to play in the mud. This is still the internet age. This is my girlfriend, Nikki Hilton. Zhou Jixi introduced 8. Then he said to Nikki, this is the chief designer and chief engineer of the greenhouse we are building. Hello, Mr. 8. Nikki said with a smile. Hello, Miss Hilton. 8 stretched out his hand and shook it, and said to her. Obviously he was a little shocked, but not too surprised. Those who are with rich people are either socialites or stars, and the one in front of him is obviously both. After being satisfied with the little pride of being a man, Zhou Jixi was obviously in a good mood. After sitting down with a few people, he took the initiative to say, 8, what news are you here to tell us this time? I want to tell Ms. Yang that her greenhouse has been built, and we have already tested it. Every test has reached the standard, and the air humidity and other conditions also meet the basic requirements. After several rounds of backup tests, even if the main control equipment has an accident, our backup facilities can fully support the operation of the greenhouse. Its independent power supply can fully last until we arrive and complete the repair. So according to our technicians, it is now in the best condition, and the plants you want to plant can move into their new home today. Little 8 said to old lady Yang. Well, then please trouble Mr. 8. The old lady nodded and said to little 8. This is what we should do. Mr. Zhou pays the salary, and we do the work well. Little 8 said. Okay, then tell me about mine. 8, how is my one now? Zhou Jixi said a little anxiously. In fact, he hasn't thought about what to plant in it yet. I'm sorry, Mr. Zhou, your greenhouse may take some time, because the temperature and air humidity are different. So all aspects need to arrange matching backup facilities, not just 2 changes in climate conditions as Ms. Yang requested. Oh, really? Zhou Jixi was a little disappointed, although what 8 said made sense, and now it was not yet the original construction time, so 8 did not breach the contract. Master, let's go and take a look now. What do you think? Zhou Jixi said to the old lady in Chinese. Seeing that she nodded, he said to 8, okay, then let's go and see the current results. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen. Since it was not far away and it only took a few minutes to walk, Zhou Jixi didn't say anything about riding or driving. He just set off with a group of people and animals. Wan Ke Wan Xiao Wan Fu, Sanzang Mastiff was like a local dog at this time, and several of them were circling around Zhou Jixi, while Zhou Jixi was still walking. Several guys treated this as a game. When Zhou Jixi took a step, they would move forward in the circle. Zhou Jixi saw that it didn't affect his walking, and he didn't bark at the 3 dogs. It was just that he felt a little dizzy. Zhao Wukong and Liu also followed, and lay on the heads of Wan Ke and the others. The thick hair of the dogs prevented the little guys from falling. The dogs were spinning in circles, and they were climbing and jumping back and forth between the dogs, having a lot of fun. The Tibetan Mastiffs also let these little things ride on the noble Tibetan Mastiffs' heads, because they usually help them catch lice. If it were any other animals, they would eat you up. Saiyan followed Zhou Jixi, lying on his back at this time, and from time to time he would put his chin on his shoulder, looking around with interest. Of course, it wouldn't be a scenery. Saiyan was already familiar with the scenery here. It was looking at those little guys who looked similar to it, and it was actually a little depressed in its heart. It turns out that being small has its benefits. Now seeing these guys playing so happily, it really wants to join in. But now, if Saiyan dares to jump around on the heads of these dogs, 1k and the others will definitely take him down and put him on the ground to teach him a lesson. Master, have you decided what to plant? Zhou Jixi turned his head and said to the old lady who was walking next to him. Well, just plant some plants that can be used as medicine. A lot of seeds have been sent when I called. There are also plants that cannot be harvested quickly by seeds alone, and a lot of them have also arrived. Most of these things were sent by the old lady's former instructor, and people also came over and looked at the instructor casually. Now those plants are still planted in a greenhouse. As long as there is no problem with our own greenhouse, we can plant them directly in it. When the old lady talked about this, she was still very happy. Some have been sent over? He was a little surprised. This was so fast. Some people admired the old lady's connections. This was considered to be a disciple all over the world. It's amazing. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. Chapter 314 Hardworking People. Several people walked into the small greenhouse that had been built. The entire structure of this greenhouse was transparent. This was to facilitate the lighting effect. However, although it was transparent, it was not glass. This was a special type of steel used for greenhouses. It was just transparent. The connected parts were made of a whole piece of steel. Aegean's was like a house. The overall structure was the same as the design book given before. The old lady came to see some small details and made suggestions. She asked Zhou to make some modifications and built it. For example, some isolation nets. Zhou Jixi guessed that the old lady would not want to raise anything in it. A small pharmacy that the old lady requested was also built in the greenhouse. Speaking of which, the old lady was really fashionable. The style here was not like her home, and she also had medicine cabinets made of wood. What was very modern was a group of transparent medicine cabinets. There was a row of machines on the top of the medicine cabinets, and there was also a row of machines connected underground. After Zhou's introduction, this thing was sent over after the old lady ordered it herself. However, according to him, the cost of this thing was estimated to be higher than that of this greenhouse. It integrates vacuum, refrigeration, sterilization and other functions, almost equivalent to a small room. Zhou Jixi looked at this thing and couldn't help but say, damn high tech. Fortunately, the sound was not loud and no one heard it. Otherwise his rustic appearance would definitely make people laugh at him in their hearts. Master, I said I'm here, and I'm still spending money on you. Zhou Jixi said to the old lady. The old lady smiled and said, okay, I still have this little money, you don't have to calculate it so clearly. The old lady patted Zhou Jixi's hand and said. Then she said, as if trying to persuade him, besides, think about it from another perspective. I'm an old woman without any children, and everything I have in the future will be yours, so don't say anything more about the money. Zhou Jixi couldn't help but jump up when he heard this. He looked at her in shock and said, Master, you have a terminal illness, and now you are telling your disciples about your funeral arrangements. If you really have it, please tell me quickly. I still have the money to find a doctor. The old lady's face became darker and darker as she listened. This was not what she expected. She knew that this guy was a little unreliable, but she didn't expect that in such a touching occasion, this guy could think so wildly. She was really impressed by him. Thinking of this, she stretched out her hand and accurately grabbed Zhou Jixi's ear at a speed that made it difficult for him to escape. What are you talking about, little bastard? I'm just talking. I still have decades to live after eating ginseng last time. Don't let your words kill me. Ah, it hurts. Master, there are people here. Please give me some face. It's not okay if the apprentice is wrong. As expected, he is worthy of being a master. His speed is amazing. I felt wind in my ears just now, but I didn't expect to catch it. Humph. The old lady let go of her hand after hearing this. Fortunately, there was not much time, and the two of them moved quickly. Zhou Jixi also spoke Chinese when he begged for mercy. When several people looked over, there was a little bit of borrowing, so they didn't see this embarrassing thing. Zhou Jixi approached the old lady cautiously. Master, children should not be afraid of what they say. Children should not be afraid of what they say. I really, No, I really didn't mean it. Once this statement came out in the novel, it was almost like that. What? Seeing the old lady's face turning a little darker, he was getting more and more stuck. Well, I'd better not say it. Fortunately, after Zhou explained a few words, the old lady's face was no longer dark. Of course, it was also related to the good mood brought by the completed greenhouse. Zhou thanked Zhou, and then he followed 8 to take a look at the big one. The first thing he saw was a group of Mexicans with dark skin, and there were also many South Americans mixed in. These people generally didn't look very tall. In fact, they were still quite tall, but Zhou felt that the face was a little weird. These people wore safety helmets. They wore work clothes and gloves on their hands. Some were still welding with ropes tied to the top, while others were using machines to move equipment. Most people were not idle. In Zhou's opinion, the most relaxed group was the group that was testing the machines. However, these people seemed to be all white, and there were even 2 black people among them. Damn, in the United States, black people have a higher status than Mexicans and South Americans. Sure enough, this world is class-based. They usually boast about freedom and no racial discrimination, but it's different when they come to the construction site. It's just boasting, but they usually blacken our great celestial empire. It's really shameless. He couldn't help but think secretly in his heart. In fact, Zhou really misunderstood. Although these people who went to test the machinery were all white and some black, they were all highly educated and familiar with this kind of thing. They were synonymous with professionalism. As for these Mexicans and South Americans, even if you ask them to do it, they won't be able to do it. However, this is considered to be an invisible establishment of class. After all, the tuition fees for higher education in the United States are not cheap. If these old Emo and South Americans don't receive education, they will probably be like this for the rest of their lives, and their children will probably be about the same. However, the contract they signed was originally for this kind of work, and it didn't include them testing the machine. It's a typical example of division of labor and cooperation. Only Zhou, who has been in the Great Celestial Empire for a long time, would think of such selfish things. He was troubled by this matter at the beginning. Why don't you just go back and take revenge? It might be a very pleasant thing to see the old boss who bullied you in the past with a miserable face. After teaching him a lesson, he said to him, "Look carefully, this is the end of bullying me in the last life. A gentleman's revenge is never too late. I'm a great gentleman in this matter. I will not let you go in 2 lives. Humph. Be more clever in your next life, or I will come to beat you up." It's pleasant to say this, but the people who listen to it probably think he is a snake-spirited lunatic. Zhou thought about it and shook his head with a wry smile. This matter seemed a bit too out of line. In the United States, people don't care if you are a leader's child or not. If you can't do a good job, you can get out, unless it is your father's company. If you lose money, it is your own, and it has nothing to do with other people. But in the United States, it is not necessarily the case. They also have a labor union. Even if you want to sell your factory or company, you still have to argue with them. Otherwise, they will not let you sell it. This matter will definitely cause a bunch of people to hold signs at your door to disgust you. Chapter 314 Plant Medicine. Without further ado, Zhou looked around inside and followed Zhou out. The hard hat on his head was a bit uncomfortable. He really didn't like the feeling of wearing a hard hat. In his previous life, he worked on a construction site. Every day he was exposed to soil, cement, steel, dust, and the hot sun. That feeling was really terrible. He was fed up with it after experiencing it once, and he simply hadn't understood the feeling of winter. Now when he wears a hard hat, it reminds him of this period of memories, which makes him uncomfortable. "Mr. Zhou, I will ask them to hurry up as much as possible. These people are pretty good. At least they are willing to work overtime. Unlike my batch of engineering teams, they leave at a certain time. It's really troublesome. Seeing these people who are willing to work overtime, Zhou couldn't help but complain to the people who used to work with him. Zhou glanced at him and said, "You are satisfied with this level? It seems that you don't know how awesome the migrant workers in our great country are. A few hours of overtime is nothing. They work 2 shifts a day and can finish the work in 24 hours. Don't finish the project too fast. The money I pay is much cheaper than yours. If I weren't so evil, I wouldn't need your mob. Really? Zhou thought secretly in his heart that he was exploited badly by the so-called capitalism in his previous life. In this life, he can finally try to exploit the people in these capitalist countries. This feels good. Zhou followed back to the small greenhouse. After the old lady inside took a look, she was very satisfied with it. The next step is to go to the storage greenhouse in the city and take back the plants. But before that, the old lady decided to plant some seeds first. After walking around Zhou farm for a while, she found that the soil in the vegetable area in the orchard was very fertile, so she dug a lot from there and mixed it with some other organic fertilizers, and now it can be transported in for cultivation. So after lunch in the afternoon, Zhou asked Atwood to find someone to do this. As for how much money to pay, he just had to ask the accountant to settle the bill. With his current wealth, he really doesn't need to do it himself. When the old lady brought that thing back, she also asked Atwood to find someone to help. People are not stupid. They can clearly distinguish what they need to do personally and what they don't need to do personally. Speaking of which, when Zhou saw Atwood after returning, he suddenly felt a little strange. This old man has been a little too attentive to his master recently. Does he still have his boss in his eyes? At this time, the old man is supervising the work of the cowboys, and they use cars to transport the soil in one by one. Then the people inside sorted it out piece by piece. The planting field is multi-layered. Because the height is high enough, it is not enough to just plant a little bit underground. 2 layers will be planted on the top. The principle of optical refraction will be used later to ensure that they can all get light to cooperate. This old guy seems to have a wife. Is he interested in the master? No, the master looks quite young, but he is also much older than Atwood. The old man seems to be only in his 50s now. Zhou saw that the master was also here, so he didn't want to be lazy, so he followed and supervised. In fact, he was just holding a piece of grass to tease say yeah behind him. Sometimes he would say sweet words to Nikki. Nikki thought that the plant medicine mentioned by the old lady might be very interesting. In the United States, such things were not recognized before. The United States is an immigrant country with immigrants from all countries and ethnic groups. The religious beliefs, social and cultural backgrounds and value orientations are extremely complex, and there are all kinds of strange things. However, the government and society have always adopted a tolerant attitude towards this, and have not intervened, thus forming a unique diversified society. In contrast, the government and the medical community have always adopted a wrong exclusionary attitude towards plant medicine therapy. To put it bluntly, we do not recognize any names or treatments such as Chinese medicine, witch doctors, or spiritual doctors. We only recognize Western medicine. Western medicine is mainstream medicine. Most states have laws that only Western medicine can be legally practiced. All other treatments are illegal, and no medical licenses are issued. Only in areas where ethnic minorities live in a relatively concentrated area, such as California, will they be given a break and special approval. This is what is called adapting to local conditions. Moreover, hospitals across the United States only provide Western medicine services. Insurance companies only cover applicants who have been treated by Western medicine and use Western medicine. The costs of other treatments will not be compensated or reimbursed. There are also pharmacies that only distribute Western medicine and do not provide herbal medicines. Medical schools and pharmacy schools only teach Western medicine and Western medicine courses and never involve other therapies and herbal medicines. From this point of view, American medical education is extremely advanced, but also very closed and conservative. It is inevitable that there is still a mentality of dominance. This policy and practice of excluding dissidents and respecting Western mainstream medicine alone is really hard to imagine for the most culturally diverse country in the world. It was not until 1970, nearly 2,000 years after the founding of the country, that things started to change. After nearly 20 years of brewing and slow quantitative changes, amazing changes occurred in the 1990s. According to a sample survey conducted by Harvard Medical School and Boston Beth Israel General Hospital, The number of people using alternative therapies has increased sharply. In 1990, the number of people using alternative therapies accounted for about 338% of the adult population, 60 million people. In 1997, it surged to 421%, 83 million people. That is, 4 out of every 10 adults have used other therapies. According to a survey conducted by Stanford University School of Medicine in 1998, 40% of people who were dissatisfied with Western medical treatment chose alternative therapies, and even 39% of those who were very satisfied also used alternative therapies. The number of users in 1990 was 1.5 million, and in 1997 it soared to 9.96 million, with 10.49 million visits. Many patients use Western medicine and other therapies together. Among those who seek Western medicine, 318%, 26.39 million people, also use alternative therapies, and 61%, 16 million people, of them do not consult their own doctors. In 1997, among the above 83 million people, 17 million people took herbal medicines, and 3 million people were over 65 years old. In 1997, American adults spent $21.2 billion on alternative therapies, of which herbal medicines accounted for $5.1 billion. The out-of-pocket expenses of the American people for alternative therapies were $27 billion to $34.4 billion. The out-of-pocket expenses for Western medicine were $29.3 billion. The two have become equal. The growing enthusiasm of the public for alternative therapies has forced 63 of the 135 medical schools in the United States to successively offer various alternative medicine courses. These include the world's top schools such as Harvard, Yale, Johns Hopkins, Columbia, Stanford, and the University of California. This major trend has also forced the American Medical Association, AMA, which used to regard alternative therapies as heresy, to call on its 300,000 members to learn more about alternative therapies and their diagnosis techniques. Later, some insurance companies, California Western Life Insurance Company, have begun to agree to reimburse the insured for the cost of herbal medicines, and other companies are also studying it. In fact, the main factors that led to this great change are not difficult to understand. The global trend of returning to nature, especially in the United States, and the use of natural herbal medicines are completely in line with the concept of hundreds of millions of people. Although Western medicine chemical synthetic drugs have special effects, they have great side effects and are expensive. Some diseases cannot be treated with chemical synthetic drugs. The elderly in the United States frequently suffer from various common and frequently occurring diseases, and the use of herbal medicines has significant effects and few side effects, so it is widely popular. In addition, the new social fashion advocates, in order to live healthier, look younger, and live longer, more and more people pay attention to physical fitness and often take various vitamins, minerals, herbal medicines and other healthcare products. Moreover, people gradually tend to self-treat, and are unwilling to rely entirely on doctors for treatment. The higher the education level, the stronger this concept is. Herbal medicines are food supplements that can be purchased and taken freely, thus fully meeting the people's requirements for self-treatment. Those congressmen were also very smart. In 1994, they passed the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act (SHE), which included herbal medicines in the category of food supplements along with vitamins and minerals. This law greatly restricted the intervention of the government in herbal medicines, provided the most powerful legislative guarantee for the rise of herbal medicines, and created a good environment for their development. A series of clinical trials on herbal medicines in Europe and the United States have proved that the efficacy of herbal medicines is conclusive and can be explained by scientific pharmacology, which has enhanced the confidence of the people. 50-60% of the people believe that herbal medicine therapy is effective, and 70-80% believe that herbal medicines come from nature, are safer than chemical synthetic drugs, and have fewer side effects. The continuous publicity and reports by various media across the country have made the whole country begin to discover and accept herbal medicines with a curious mentality of discovering a new world. Many people even regard it as a panacea. The US medical system has many drawbacks. Medical expenses have been rising year after year, and medical insurance costs have also risen. The economic burden on the people is too high. In addition, Western medicine and synthetic drugs are not a panacea, and cannot meet the needs of the people, prompting them to find new ways. Don't think the United States is awesome. There are only so many people in the United States, but there are still 40 million people without medical insurance. It is a big economic burden for these people to see a doctor and take medicine. For some common diseases or mild diseases, taking herbal medicine according to symptoms is the most economical choice. Now it's Nikki's generation, and they actually have a good impression of herbal medicines. Even cosmetics claim that they are herbal medicines and do not contain any drug additives. It can be seen that women's hearts are actually easy to choose. Now Nikki suddenly discovered that the old lady has this trick, and she also knows that the old lady is now over 80 years old, but she looks healthy and elegant, just like in her 50s. Speaking of which, Zhou really didn't realize how much difference there is. Some hard-working old people in their 60s are just like those in their 80s, and those who have maintained themselves are just like those in their 60s. The old lady is in her 50s, and it doesn't look too much. Ms. Yang, is this grass really as magical as you said after it grows? Nikki looked at the old lady who was planting at this time, fiddling with the seeds she gave in her hand, and said to the old lady with an incredible look on her face, "Yes, this kind of plant can improve the skin and delay aging, as long as it is mixed with other medicines through several special methods. However, one of the medicines is not easy to get. Even if you go to the market and spend a lot of money to buy it, it is still difficult to buy it. But Jess has it. I will prepare a portion for you to try, and you will know," the old lady said kindly. Her expression at this moment was not as scary as Zhou thought. The man was probably scared, and he was also a very imaginative person. The more he thought about it, the scarier it became. Even looking at the old lady, he felt that she was very mysterious. It was a bit scary to look at, as if a student was a little uncomfortable when seeing a teacher. Nikki's eyes lit up when she heard it. When she came here, she saw Zhou's master. She always made people feel surprised, not only because she had an appearance that did not match her age, but also because of her magical cooking skills. The most important thing is that the old lady is also a very powerful pharmacist and doctor. It is incredible that she can help people see a doctor without the help of medical equipment, and she can know the weight of an object just by using her hands. Moreover, she still remembered that in the evening, the old lady gave her some strange soup, saying that it was good for her current health. Zhou also persuaded her to drink it, but the result was gratifying. Her body, which was a little uncomfortable, was much better this morning, and even her spirit was much better. So now she believed in the old lady's words about improving her skin. Wow, that is definitely the best gift I have received since I came here. Thank you, Ms. Yang. Okay, you are welcome. It's good if you like it. This is also fate. Fate, I know this. It means that everything happens to happen, and most of the encounters are good things. Nikki explained seriously. Atwood looked at Zhou looking at him strangely, and then turned around to think about something. It was a bit strange. Does the boss want to tell me something? But why didn't he ask me? He thought for a while, and felt that he still had to talk to Zhou. After all, as his boss, he always had to help him solve his questions, right? Boss, do you have something to talk to me about? Zhou looked at Atwood, pondered for a moment, and was struggling with how to say this. Should he tell him that he should not think of hitting on his master just because he looks young? In fact, he is already over 80 years old. But is it appropriate to say this? If he didn't mean that, this matter would be funny. Atwood, I think you treated my master today. Chapter 315. What's going on? Although the first day was a bit busy, Nikki felt very good, much better than Zhou who wanted to be lazy whenever he had free time. She helped the old lady from time to time, and even assisted her. Although she was mostly making things worse, the old lady didn't mind. Breathing in the fresh air, without the noise of the city. Although there is no party, but it feels very fulfilling. Sometimes it's a good thing to live like this. Nikki and Zhou walked on the grassland and looked at the sunset, holding a handful of grass in their hands, and said thoughtfully. Zhou walked over and hugged her waist, letting Nikki lean her body against his chest. The sunset lengthened their figures a lot. Yes, I can always feel a sense of peace here. But sometimes I still feel that I'm not that old yet. We still have some time to live a peaceful life. Zhou kissed Nikki. Baby, I feel a little old because of what you said. We still have many parties and many joys to enjoy. It's still a long way to go before we can watch the sunset every day. After the two of them were romantic for a while, 1K ran over and shouted at them. Zhou and Nikki looked at each other and said, let's go, baby, the master asked us to go back for dinner. Yeah. That night, the two of them suddenly felt a little strange and didn't do it. They just lay together, and Zhou listened to Nikki telling her about her childhood. When she was a child, she lived in a hotel with her family. Although it was luxurious and comfortable, sometimes she wanted to live in a middle-class cottage. Zhou held her and listened to the woman talking, occasionally interrupting her and kissing her a few times. Nikki was very happy lying on Zhou's chest, listening to the strong heart beating and feeling his strength. Memories are always short, but time will not wait for her. Baby, I don't know how long we will be together, but I think I will put this moment deep in my memory and treasure it carefully. But Zhou didn't speak. Nikki looked up and saw that he had fallen asleep with a smile on his lips. It felt like he was sleeping very sweetly now, and she couldn't bear to make a sound to disturb him. Really with the boy? Nikki said and kissed him on the chest. The next day, Zhou didn't wake up Nikki and went down to start a day of exercise. As usual, the old lady had already gotten up. Master, good morning. He walked over and said, well, it's a good thing that you haven't been training hard recently. Don't train too hard in the future, otherwise it will still hurt your body. The old lady was talking about the toxins in Zhou's muscles a while ago. The toxins were produced by Zhou's excessive training. Later, after taking a few medicinal baths, he was fine. Master, don't worry. I still understand this matter of tension and relaxation. Zhou said. Well, then I won't say much. You can handle it yourself. In the afternoon, a guest came to the farm. He was a friend of the old lady, or a former team member. He has retired now and runs a farm in nearby Murst. Some of the old lady's plants are placed with him. Sorry for bothering you, Pete. The old lady walked out first and said to a strong man who got out of the car. This white strong man wore a plaid shirt, a pair of blue jeans on the lower body, and a pair of military boots on his feet. He wore a baseball cap on his head and a square face, but the stubble on his face made this man's peasant temperament stand out, lacking a bit of the sharpness hidden inside. You're welcome. Why, it's just a small matter, isn't it? Although the man was tall, his smile still made people feel gentle. Why? Is this the master's nickname? Zhou thought. After the strong man Pete greeted the old lady introduced Zhou to him. This is my current apprentice, the owner of this farm, Zhou. Then she said to Zhou, Jess, this is my former colleague, you can just call him Pete. Zhou walked over and looked at the strong man. After his second growth in this life, he was also quite strong, but compared to him, he felt a lot worse. Hello, nice to meet you. You look a lot stronger than me, Zhou said casually to ease the atmosphere. Then he said, but, man, I really trouble you this time. Thank you. The new owner of Sky Farm. You look very young, which I can't imagine. You're welcome. It's just a small favor. Pete's hands are very strong, but compared to Zhou, he felt that his grip must be higher than his. The two men shook hands like men, and the old lady saw it, but she just smiled and didn't say anything. You are very strong. You don't look like a rich man who owns such a big farm. Zhou shrugged his shoulders. Who said that rich people can't have strength? In my previous country, practicing martial arts is something that only rich people have the opportunity to do well. Okay, Pete, look at what you brought here. Did you bring all my treasures? The old lady shook her head and said with a smile, interrupting the two people's conversation. Of course, those guys put their things where I am. I don't want to be pointed at with a gun. It's hard for someone to say to me later Hey, you dare to steal wise medicinal herbs. It seems that you want to try the taste of this big gun. Pete said with a funny hand pointing at his head as a pistol. Bang. Is this strong man joking? I really think it's funny. Oh my god. Zhou looked at this man with some swearing. It seems that his name is Pete. But he looks like a good person. He's just a little bit stupid. As Pete said this, he walked over to the car and said to the old lady, you know, most of the herbs you brought from all over the world are weeds in my opinion, but those mercenaries said that there are many things in them that can save lives and kill people. Wow, I just found out that the medicine you used to treat us before came from this, and the itching powder was also extracted from it. A strong man raised his eyebrows when he said this. The old lady was a little bit surprised and walked over to teach him a lesson. Sure enough, it was that big-mouthed Pete. He looked like a strong man, but he was actually a chatterbox. This is fucking Luo said. After the old lady walked over, she stood behind the door of the truck, and then Pete opened the key of the back door, but the corner of his mouth smiled mysteriously. Bang! A group of black-clothed men with guns suddenly jumped down. Squat down, all of you squat, or I'll shoot. Someone pointed a gun at Zhou and said, what's going on? Fast update pure text chapter 316. Many unexpected things. After the old lady walked over, she stood behind the door of the truck. Then Pete opened the key of the back door with a mysterious smile on his face. Bang! A group of armed men in black suddenly jumped down. Get down, everyone, or I'll shoot. Someone pointed a gun at Zhou and said, what's going on? Zhou was suddenly a little panicked by the scene in front of him. Was this a terrorist attack or a kidnapping? Fuck your mother, it's just a kidnapping. Why do you need to take out a sniper rifle? And that guy, you're occupying the commanding heights, jumping onto the front of the car. He took a glance and saw that several people were holding large guns of unknown models in their hands. Obviously not small things like pistols, and one of them was holding a sniper rifle. After counting, there were 3 people in total. Of course the other one was Pete. At this time, he actually took out a pistol. Fuck your mother. I didn't expect that Zhou, who has made a name for myself, would encounter this. Damn, should I surrender first or not? I guess I should surrender first, but I seem to have a space. Should I escape in and observe first? But these people are probably looking for money, so there's no need to risk exposing the space. If I were the protagonist of a novel, I would have used a few stones to knock down the guns in the hands of several people. Then I would go up and fight, and then I would win, and send several people to the police station. It hadn't been more than 30 seconds since he came back and forth, and Zhou's mind began to wander. But he was not too panicked. After all, he had confidence in his heart, and he was afraid of this even after experiencing rebirth. What's more, as long as there is space, as long as he can find an opportunity, he can get them all in and use them one by one as fertilizer. Little bastards, I'll let you know what it means to be an old cow standing upside down and be awesome. Okay, Harry, Sim, Joe, put away your water guns. This joke is not funny at all. Are you still not happy with the mask on? If I hadn't discovered it earlier, you would have gone to the hospital. The old lady suddenly moved a few times, and a few dart-like things came out of her hand. After a few small puff sounds, it was found that a small flying knife was rubbed on the muzzle of the gun in everyone's hand. Several people were stunned for a moment and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Sure enough, it's still why, although the endurance is not good now, this outbreak still surprised us. More than one person was stunned. Zhou was also beside him. Wow. What's going on? After a while, Zhou's somewhat dull eyes. He never thought that these people were still a few strong men, holding cool looking guns in their hands, but in fact they were just fake goods, and they were not imitation guns, but water guns, although these water guns could shoot quite far. The few people were all former students of the old lady, and this time they just happened to bring plants back to her. They just happened to be back from vacation, but when they thought about it, it seemed a bit too much to just come over and meet, so they thought about this. But they are not stupid. If the situation is not under control, then it will be bad luck. Although the few people are young, the old lady can't handle them all at once, no matter how powerful she is. The age gap is sometimes irresistible, and they also left a flaw. That is Pete, who is a local. He has a family here, and he also grabbed a gun in his hand, which made the old lady dare not shoot at will. Weighing the pros and cons can avoid some unnecessary accidents. In addition, the guns that the few people grabbed can be seen by discerning people because they are too light, and the physical reactions presented by the few people are not right at all. Later, as an instructor of the bodyguard department, the old lady also learned that the weight of the object held in the hand can make the body muscles move. Especially the firearms are the focus. So for the activities of the body muscles of the few people, this gun is a bit wrong. The old lady was an experienced person, so she figured it out slowly, and she was familiar with the figures of the men. In the end, it didn't become a misunderstanding. As a punishment for this prank, the old lady told Zhou not to ask the cowboy for help, but to let these guys help. Zhou nodded, still thinking about something. Looking at the big men, each of them was a very American muscular man, and they looked to be around 30 or 40 years old. 2 of them were white, 1 was black, and that pit was also white. Zhou found that one of them looked quite like the Hollywood star The Rock, with a round head and a beard, but his face was a little bigger than The Rock. These are not the key points. I seem to be a rich man, right? Fortunately, this time it was just a joke. If it was real, we don't have this line of defense. Do we have to rely on the old lady? Or should we do it ourselves? Are you kidding? You are so rich and still live a *** life. The more he thought about it, the more wrong it was. Recalling the past, he remembered that he was thinking about finding a bodyguard at that time. But when he saw Huang Dulling and Mark Zuckerberg going out, it seemed that they didn't have any bodyguards. He also felt that the rich just lived a more luxurious life than ordinary people. Those who need bodyguards are those who lack a sense of security, or they are celebrities and need bodyguards to avoid being disturbed by others. I'm not famous either, and with all my strength, it seems that no one can deal with me. But this moment made him realize that he really needs bodyguards. It's not the kind of thing that puts up an iron gate outside the farm and then finds an old man to guard the iron gate. To prevent some people from talking, if they really come to mess with me, how can an iron gate deal with it? We must have people, and we must have guns. If the bad guys come, we will treat them to a big gun, and they will definitely be beaten to a pulp. I can't go on like this. I can still afford to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on bodyguards a year. There is no need to save this money and make me feel insecure. He made a decision in his heart, and now he suppressed his unhappiness. Don't think he was calm just now. He took the space into consideration and exposed the space at a certain risk. If it wasn't for a few people, then Zhou would be a saint or an idiot. He always thought that he was not very cunning. After being punched, he didn't ask for much. Just punch me back. As for whether to use the same strength you used to hit me and return your own strength, it depends on his mood. But you can pray that he can be in a good mood after being beaten. He just smiled at a few people for the sake of the old lady, hit each of them on the chest, and said with a smile, "You almost scared me. If I'm not careful, I guess the master will blame me." As he said that, he kicked a small stone under his feet, using some induction of the earth and the force generating method of the boxing taught by the old lady. The action was very small, but could cause great damage. It was a kind of hitting the bull from a distance, but it was not at that level. The stone flew out quickly under Zhou's kick and hit a squirrel climbing on a tree accurately, and the squirrel's head exploded with a poof. It must be said that the scene was a bit bloody, and the squirrel's body was almost nailed to the tree and hung there. Seeing this, the few people who shook hands with him narrowed their eyes and swallowed their saliva. If it can even hit the squirrel's head, it will hit your neck or eyes and enter from the eyes. Then it is estimated that the brain will also be smashed. It is almost certain to kill people. The control of the feet is in place, and the hands are probably not bad either. Nimmer, I was going to explode the anus, but I didn't expect it to explode the head. It seems that this force plus the induction of the earth, without sufficient practice, it is still not possible to master the timing. Zhou sighed in his heart with a normal expression. At this time, the old lady also saw Zhou's move, and her eyes lit up. This move is similar to her darts, but I didn't expect that my apprentice would learn this skill. I don't usually see him show it off. I guess it's just like what he said when he became his apprentice. Practicing kung fu is to strengthen the body. If it's not necessary, I won't do anything to fight for strength. After hitting them with this blow, Zhou felt much better. I didn't bother with you at that time, otherwise you would really think that my buddy was afraid of you. Now I'll show you how red the flowers are, and let you devils know that this is what we call low-key. Since the truck was parked a little distance away from the villa, and today was a day off for those old demos, no one saw this drama-like performance. Otherwise, they scared Cheyenne or the people in the villa, and it really couldn't be solved so easily, and it would have to be bloody. The old lady looked at the people moving the plants, walked to Zhou and said, "What's wrong? What are you thinking about?" The people said it wasn't intentional. They thought I was the only one here. This is also Pete's fault. You followed and didn't remind me, otherwise they wouldn't have continued the prank. Master, it's okay. They were too modest. Besides, I wasn't really scared just now. With the boxing and kicking skills you taught me, plus my natural supernatural power and reaction nerves, it's not easy for them to put me down. Zhou said to the old lady in a comforting way. You. The old lady smiled and shook her head. I'm lucky to have a disciple like you at my old age. God has wronged me for decades, and this time I've made up for it. But, chapter 317. Several big men moved quickly, helping to transplant flowers and plants in the greenhouse that the old lady had just named Baikao Wu. Zhou chatted with the old lady for a while, which was considered to improve her mood. Just now he was thinking about whether to play a prank on them, so as to get back to the feeling just now. Pete, be careful. Don't get close to this flower and smell it. It has a stun effect. This is what Cheetah brought from the Amazon for why. You'd better be careful. Harry, who was moving a pot of strange vines, said. Okay, I think I will be very careful. I have never been careless about wise plants. I still remember that time a few years ago. I was stung by a grass and it hurt me all day. I really don't want to have that feeling again. Pete immediately turned his face towards the flower. Hey, Sim, do you know what this is in my hand? It's a vine plant that the Indonesian rafflesia parasitizes, right? Sim said. Hey, you know this too? Of course, Y has said that it grows on a vine and is a parasitic plant that relies on absorbing nutrients from other plants to survive. The entire flower is its entire body. Almost all the nutrients absorbed by the rafflesia from the vine are used to grow the flower. Its seeds are very small and almost invisible to the naked eye. Its seed dispersal is also a bit lazy. The small seeds are sticky. When elephants or other animals step on them, they will be taken to other places to take root, sprout, and reproduce. Haha, and the rafflesia grows in tropical forests such as Malaysia, Java, and Sumatra in Indonesia. Sim said a lot, as if he knew a lot. Joe, it seems that you need to learn more and stop fiddling with your guns all day long. Well, you look like a botanist now, but it cannot be denied that your head is full of fists. Sim, copying is shameful. Forget it, Joe. You are jealous of the great Sim. Look at how knowledgeable I am now, man. He stuck out his tongue like a scientist. Look, Einstein's tongue is not as long as mine, he said, looking at the others with a smug look on his face. Although the others were talking, they worked very fast. They classified the plants according to the old lady's classification and arranged them in order. Now each plant has a pot, and the old lady will take care of it herself in the future. Some of them may need to be transplanted. Anyway, she has plenty of time to take care of these flowers and plants slowly. The Baikao garden was built for her, otherwise the old lady would talk about what to do. Because it was just moving flower pots and transplanting, the old lady didn't need Zhou help, so he didn't stay there. After returning to the villa, he followed Nikki, who was already dressed up, to go for an outing. Although he had something to do now, he would have to play first. Baby, wow, look at that group of tortoises. Nikki pointed at the group of tortoises Zhou bought and said to him. He hugged Nikki, who was extremely excited. Okay, honey, I know. Let's go see those big guys now. The tortoises in the distance already had a home, which was built by Zhou with the help of cowboys. It was just a big mud pond dug, and these tortoises like this thing very much. There were also several big mushroom-like buildings built next to it, and the homes below were for the tortoises. There were perfect drainage facilities and sprinkler systems under the mushrooms, which were used to clean the tortoises. It saved them from being ugly with mud all over their bodies. After this thing was built, it looked much more comfortable. And under the mushrooms of different sizes, some trees were transplanted in them. This not only looks good, but also can protect the tortoises from wind and rain. From a distance, it looked like a fairy tale building, with huge tortoises and huge mushrooms, and it seemed that they were not getting bigger, but getting smaller, when people walked in. At present, the surrounding trees are still growing unevenly, but at least the range of the tortoises is surrounded. From a distance, it looks like a circle with several gaps, and mushrooms are planted in it. And these trees are not white, they are also one of the food sources for the tortoises. However, the tortoises are also very satisfied with the plants and grass in the farm. Fortunately, they eat most plants, and Zhou does not have to worry about what they eat. Zhou has not come to this location to see it for 2 days. I didn't expect that Atwood would do it so well after I explained it at the beginning. Not only does it have a shape, but also a style. He likes it very much. This old guy is really extraordinary. Zhou couldn't help but sigh. Oh my god, dear, look, this is just like a fairy tale. My god, I want to take a picture of it. It's so memorable. Nikki grabbed Zhou's hand and looked at him excitedly. Okay, baby, you have the final say. Zhou kissed her and said to Nikki, wow, dear, you are so good. This is a great feeling. I feel like I'm Alice, and this is the rabbit hole I walked into. Nikki walked in and looked up at the mushroom. Although this thing looks quite ordinary, it still has a high technological content. Zhou remembered that his accountant David had recently complained to him that the farm manager spent money carelessly. When Mr. Bud was here, he only saw him making money. Now that Zhou has let him spend money freely, he even built such an expensive building to help his boss's pet build a house. At that time, Zhou had actually heard Atwood's explanation. He was also purchasing materials that the company was planting at Guang's. The color of the material can change according to the season and weather. This is what is used on the top of the mushroom. Today is sunny, so the mushrooms look bright and colorful, a bit like the real thing. With this effect, the money is not wasted. Zhou nodded secretly. Zhou didn't believe Atwood's explanation at that time, but now he definitely believed it. He really didn't lie to himself. At this time, Nikki had already walked in front of a giant tortoise, stretched out her hand, and grabbed a handful of grass. She carefully handed it over. Mr. Giant Turtle, do you want to eat some more? I just picked this, it's very fresh. Zhou felt very upset when he heard this. This grass was just picked, it's still very fresh. People can eat the freshest by just lowering their heads, and they will let you tease them for this little thing in your hand? Are you kidding? Chapter 318, The Tortoise and Dinner. The tortoise looked in the direction of the sound and saw a man holding the green grass that he liked to eat recently. Please used to visit this site. It happened that he was a little hungry, so he raised his head and bit it, put it in his mouth and chewed it. Ah, Jess, look, it's eaten. It can actually understand what I say. Ginny said a little excitedly and said to Zhou with excitement on his face. He was stunned for a moment and then quickly reacted. Oh, really? I saw it. Baby, it seems that you are really good at communicating with animals. Zhou nodded and said to him. Then, he had a strange feeling towards the tortoise who was still enjoying the grass. Enima, do you have to be so spineless? People give it to you, you just eat it. There are a lot of them on the ground. It's really a turtle's heart. Can it be that you also think that domestic grass is not as fragrant as wild grass? Zhou smiled and walked over and saw the tortoise looking at the tortoise who was eating happily with contempt. Really, it makes sense to put it together with the country bumpkins. It's like you've never seen grass. Why did I think you'd buy it back? You deserve to be scolded every day. I'm not wrong. Zhou's arrival quickly attracted the tortoises that were taking a mud bath. The tortoise that Zhou thought was the smartest quickly crawled out of the mud. He roared at him and crawled over covered in mud. Following the pasture that was originally covered in pasture, they now crawled into a winding path covered in mud. Mr. Lu was right. The world's roads become roads when more people walk on them. Now, more tortoises can also form roads. Zhou was not happy with the muddy tortoises that wanted to get close to him. He quickly shouted loudly, "Stop, stop," and even gestured. Unfortunately, the tortoise was still stubborn and kept coming towards Zhou. "You understood before. Why are you so stupid now?" He was dumbfounded. Over there, over there." Zhou did not give up. He shouted and gestured to the tortoise to go under the mushroom. This time, the tortoise finally understood what he meant. It roared at Zhou and crawled towards the mushroom. Because it was not the scheduled time, Zhou followed. Looking at the marked ground, there was a circle of pebbles around and a raised cylinder in the middle. It said press to start on it. Zhou turned on the manual switch according to the prompt. In an instant, the mushroom sprayed water up and down like a fountain. According to the speed of the tortoise, the time from when it crawled in to when it got upset and crawled out was enough to wash away the mud on them. After the tortoise crawled out, Zhou turned off the switch. Looking at the clean tortoise, he felt a lot more comfortable. "That's more decent. Come here, I'll give you something to eat." Zhou also pretended to pull weeds and then put a little water of vitality in it. He said kindly to the tortoise. Its nose twitched and it immediately became excited. This tortoise was so attentive to Zhou and he couldn't take out that kind of delicious food. Now it smelled that strange smell again, the smell that made the food delicious, and it was the instinct of the body that urged it to eat quickly. Without thinking about it, it crawled over at its fastest speed. "Okay, look how anxious you are. It's yours. You can't run away. Why are you so anxious?" Zhou took a few steps. Looking at the big guy's appearance, he was embarrassed to tease it. Nikki couldn't help but envy the scene. The one next to her ignored her after eating a bite. "Hey, big guy, how about eating a little more?" The tortoise still ignored her and turned its head to the other side. But Nikki didn't give up. She walked a few steps to the place where it turned and said, "It's really delicious. You'll know if you try it." The tortoise was very annoyed by the thing that was making noises in his ears. Why was it endless? He looked up at her to see what it was. After looking at it, he turned his head and ignored Nikki. Zhou saw this scene from his angle. Why does that picture look like it is despising Nikki? Nikki tried several times but failed. He immediately looked at Zhou for help. "Honey, come and help me. Does this big guy dislike me so quickly?" Seeing this, he hurriedly said, "How could it be, baby? It may not be used to eating food with the smell of strangers. It may like you after you try a few more times." Nikki looked at Zhou with a skeptical look and said, "Really, dear? Of course, you have to believe me, baby. I'm Jesse Zhou." Zhou said in an affirmative voice. Then he grabbed a handful of grass and gave it to Nikki. "Baby, just try it a few times." "Really? Well," Nikki said, and then walked over again. "Come on, big guy, do you want to eat some? This is just picked. Don't you want to try such fresh and green grass? Well, don't hesitate. If you don't eat it, I'm sure it will leave you." Well, Nikki is using both threats and inducements. Zhou felt very funny when he heard it, but in order to prevent Nikki from finding out, he suppressed the urge to laugh. The tortoise lying on the ground eating grass. It also twitched its nose and quickly looked at the grass in Nikki's hand. "It seems like I really want to eat it." This is what Zhou translated for the tortoise. As for whether it is true or not, according to the scene, it is almost true. The tortoise bit the grass in Nikki's hand and then chewed it. It actually liked it more and more. Not only did it finish eating everything in Nikki's hand, it also licked her hand, making Nikki giggle, but she was reluctant to take it away. It was not easy to get so close to this tortoise. What if it ignored her later? Then Zhou took another handful of grass to Nikki, and the tortoise ate it without hesitation. Now that it had tasted something delicious, the tortoise became close to Nikki. She had no food in her hand, and the tortoise also circled around her, as if it could get some food this way. With Zhou help, Nikki had a lot of fun playing with the tortoise. But when Nikki wanted to take a picture, she realized that she didn't have a mobile phone or a camera at this time, so she couldn't take any pictures. Fortunately, Zhou had a space, and there was a SLR camera in it. But it was too fake to take it out at this time. That thing was really big. After observing the space, he remembered that there was a Sony camera he bought when he traveled to Urumqi. It was an ultra thin one, so it was not unexpected to take this thing out of his pocket. Zhou took a lot of photos for Nikki with the camera, especially she asked Zhou to take more photos of her interaction with the tortoises. The sexy girl in the wilderness and several large tortoises. These photos really have a strange beauty. Most of these tortoises have taken a shower, so the cyan shell is particularly conspicuous. There is also a beautiful woman standing next to them. Zhou was very satisfied with the photos of this chapter. If he took them to the competition, I guess he would have no chance. Zhou played with Nikki for an afternoon. They didn't go anywhere else today. The two stayed in the mushroom field of the tortoises for a while, playing with the tortoises and communicating. Although they didn't understand most of what they said, they felt very good. In the evening, those people would also eat in the villa. The old lady had already talked about this matter. He also talked to Nikki about it, asking her to be careful of any gossip or something like that. None of these people are talkative. They are either mercenaries or bodyguards who charge a very high price. And Ginny also expressed his understanding of this. At dinner time, after Zhou and a few others greeted each other, they sat down together. Today, since there are many people coming, Zhou asked the kitchen to cook Western food. After all, there are many Americans and they are also guests, so it is better to follow their habits. Zhou also opened 2 bottles of red wine that old man Bud bought before. Of course, it is not the kind of collection. He felt a little distressed to drink that red wine. The main ingredient made by the nanny today is steak, which is made from cattle in the ranch. Zhou has specially put a batch there waiting for him to eat. Most of the people at the table are big men, and it is estimated that there is no need to say more about their appetite. In addition to steak, there is also the classic potato stewed with beef, which he secretly took potatoes from the space and cooked for the nannies. There are also grilled pork chops and grilled beef, plus shrimps caught from the lake, and fried shrimps for the nannies, which taste great with the sauce. To be honest, there is nothing else on the farm, but there is a lot of meat. In addition to the pheasants and rabbits that 1K and his friends caught today, the table is full of meat. Of course, this is just the vegetables that have not been served yet. Next is the mixed salad and a large portion of vegetable leaves. It tastes absolutely good to eat with grilled pork and beef. The soup is made from fish caught from the nearby lakes. The thick soup made from fresh fish is very delicious. Americans don't eat fish with small bones, so this time they specifically took a large one, and it was the kind without any bones. You all put a piece of fish in the daily soup bowl. After the men sat down, they smelled the aroma on the table, and their eyes lit up. Wow, what a sumptuous dinner. It smells and looks great. As long as you like it, there is plenty of food today. Everyone should eat more. Zhou sat in the main seat and said to the guests, even if there is a chef at home, as the owner of the house, Zhou has to be the main seat, which is what the old lady said. Well, thank you for your hospitality. Pete said you're welcome. You are all here to help. It's only right that I treat you to a dinner. Chapter 319 Idol. The dinner at Jay Chow's house was very rich, but in the eyes of several people, it was still too much. Although everyone seemed to be able to eat a lot, they really couldn't eat that much. Looking at Nikki and the old lady who were already accustomed to it, Pete secretly said what a waste. He thought that, if he couldn't finish the food, he would give it to the dogs outside. Thinking of this, he felt a little bit of a pity. He also ran a farm, and raised some cattle and sheep. But the quality of the meat raised there was not the same as what we eat now. He was very sure that the cattle here were of the same breed as the ones he bought. But the difference in meat quality was so big, it must be that the food they usually feed was different. Not only good grass, but also other food. So the cost must be not low, and this kind of cattle will definitely not be auctioned at an auction house, but most of them will directly sign a supply contract with high-end restaurants. This way, the profit will be higher, and the price will probably be higher. It was a luxury to feed the dog with this good stuff. How could he know that? Even if Zhou Jixi didn't have the food on the table, he would have fed 1K and 1 Fu long time ago. Although he was a dog, he had a broad vision. When they were in the space, they had tasted all the good stuff. Now they were just eating some beef. It was a pity. So they put a few of them in the space to speed up. In reality, after 10 days or so, several big cows and calves would come out. This really fulfilled the saying that, if you plant a fish in spring, you will harvest a group of fish in autumn. It was a pity that the cat who was used as a negative example when he was a child didn't meet Zhou Jixi. Otherwise, it wouldn't have to wait for 2 seasons to plant whatever it wanted. It would only take 10 days for him. Even if it wanted to plant itself, it only needed to give it a female cat in the space. Zhou Jixi should be the one to harvest. It should cultivate the land. Mr. Zhou, your steak is really great. It not only smells tempting, but it is also a pleasure to eat it. Pete said to Jay Chou with envy, holding a piece of beef with a fork. Jay Chou smiled. He always heard such praise after eating his food. Now he is used to it. He smiled and said, these are all the credit of the cowboys. Without their hard work and dedication, there would be no delicious food on our table. Of course, there is also the Lord, although I don't believe in him. Several people smiled when they heard it, and then Pete raised his glass and said, to the cowboys who let us eat such delicious food today, and God, and our Mr. Zhou, let's drink a glass. Who? Several people on the table also raised their glasses when they heard it. Jay Chou and Nikki also smiled and picked up the glasses and followed them and said, cheers, cowboys, God, and Mr. Zhou. Then they drank it all. Everyone enjoyed this dinner very much, and Jay Chou's dissatisfaction with several people was much better, and he was not as unhappy as in the morning. I wanted to stay with several people at night, but their homes are all in California, and Pete's home is nearby. He has also asked for leave and wants to go back to see his family. Only Joe stayed. His home is in Lewis, Montana, and he has not returned yet. He plans to bring his wife and children here for vacation. The weather in Montana is not very good now, but California is sunny even in winter, and the climate is very pleasant. Anyway, there are many guest rooms at home, so there is no need to worry about Joe having no place to stay. Zhou Jixi personally arranged a large room with a lake view for him, and then asked the nannies to bring the sheets over. There was no need to explain more, and the nannies usually took care of it. All night, Zhou Jixi was still doing shameful things with Nikki. In the morning, Zhou Jixi said goodbye to Nikki as usual, wearing a camouflage vest, which immediately revealed his explosive muscles. The lower body was also a pair of camouflage shorts, and the thick thighs looked full of power. He was wearing Nike sneakers on his feet. He looked in the mirror, touched his long hair, tied a ponytail on his head, and went downstairs. When he went downstairs, there was a large cup of hot milk on the table. He would drink some every day before exercising. Although he was in good health, it was a real pleasure to drink some warm milk in the morning. Halfway through drinking the milk, he took out the egg in the space and cracked it casually, then broke it open and put it in his mouth. In his previous life, he watched those muscular men eat eggs raw like this, and he was envious and jealous. Although it looked a bit barbaric, it was really handsome. He held the egg in one hand, cracked it, and then put it in his mouth. In one word, handsome. So one day he tried it, and the taste felt so-so, but there was also a strange taste. He was a little uncomfortable. Later, he thought of the chicken in the space. They ate well and drank well, so the eggs should not be bad. So he got an idea, and took one out of the space to try it. Sure enough, the taste was much more fragrant than the eggs outside, and even the fishy smell was so light that it was almost unnoticeable. It also had a milky flavor when eaten. After trying a few more times, he found that the eggs that had just been laid were the most delicious. Not only were they a little hot, but they also tasted a lot fresher. Because the ratio of space and reality was different, Zhou Jixi had enough time to wait for a chicken in the space to lay an egg and then move it out for him to eat. As for the one on the table, when he picked it up with his hand, it was swapped with the egg in the space and put into the space. He ate 10 eggs in a row and finished drinking the milk. Zhou Jixi ran to the grass outside. Sure enough, the old lady was already there. After he greeted the old lady, he also started practicing. Not long after a while, Cairo, who was visiting Zhou house, also got up and came out. He didn't expect that there were actually 2 people outside at this time. Although the instructor also practiced before, he didn't expect that she would still persist after retirement. Hey, why, and Mr. Zhou, good morning. Zhou was also wearing a black vest with a black company logo on the chest. He was wearing a pair of black trousers, the same pair he wore yesterday. Well, good morning, Zhou. Didn't I tell you yesterday to just call me Jess? Zhou had just finished boxing and was preparing to do the 3 body pose, so he had time to talk to him. Okay, I'll listen to you, Zhou said, and then he saw that Zhou had already started doing the 3 body pose, so he didn't bother him anymore. He started running, facing the rising sun, and ran towards the lake. Update fast pure text end of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.